Because when we think about the strength of our democracy, you know, I think that there's a duality to the nature of democracy. When it's intact, oh, it's so strong in terms of what it does to uphold and protect individual rights and freedoms. So strong in its nature. And it's very fragile. It will only be as strong as our willingness to fight.
So strong.
Dude, she had to be drunk there. I think she's drunk at that one. I mean, somebody pointed out to me that, excuse me, I'm sorry. Somebody pointed out to me that she may be drinking wine and smoking weed simultaneously. It's a subtle difference, but in highness. But I'm going to call her from now on her Royal Highness because of her peccadillos because of her peccadillos regarding wine, weed, and song. So
and her coronation goes with that beautifully. Because I mean, after all,
a Royal Highness.
Yeah.
I mean, the Obamas came out, so there's nobody left except I don't know. Mel Torme didn't endorse her. The Velvet Fog.
Oh, this is true. This is true. I was torn. Left. I was torn. It was like, okay, what intro do I do? Because I also have this one that was queued up to do as an intro. You know, she, after all, they say she was not, or was never the border czar.
Quote unquote, border czar.
Oh, God.
Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Camela Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Right. Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
Let me tell you something. That should be put into a time capsule to explain, and I'm not even joking here. This should be put into a time capsule to explain our entire propaganda era of the past 4 or 5 years, to show that what the reality of the media involved with this propaganda situation in the United States. I know the top operating worldwide, but just as a simplified, short example for kids in high school. I heard a guy the other day on the radio, civics teacher, high school teacher here in Los Angeles. I don't know his name. I'm going to try to find it because I missed the beginning of it. But he was talking about how, and he's a civics and history teacher in high school. And I don't even think he's a Trump guy. But he was talking about how these kids are petrified to share any information or to talk in class for fear of being canceled. He also said that many, maybe all of his co-teachers after 2016, he said everything changed. They would literally weep in the classroom to stunned students who did not know why they were crying. This happened day after day after day. They would break down and cry about the election going on for over 1.5 years, sometimes 2 years, with various teachers breaking down and sobbing. And they did not, the students did not want to share their opinions out of fear of being canceled by the other students. The only ones he said that did were the athletes because they were on teams and they felt protected being on the team. So they felt that they could share their opinions.
Also meritocracy. Because athletes appreciate meritocracy. I think that factored in.
Well, no, we're just talking about social media stuff in terms of being open about your opinion. They were in a clique. In other words,
okay.
That's what he was talking about. They were in a protected clique, Eric, and they were able to share their opinions. But everybody else in the schools that he teaches at petrify, and he tries to pull it out of them as a civics teacher and as a history teacher to discuss various things. Fascinating. I'm going to try to track this guy down and get him on the show. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out. Thanks.
Good point here from Divine Run. Yes. Yuri Besnerchov or whatever was right about everything.
Yeah, not wrong. That's for sure.
But we got a little piece. We'll finish it. This just broke before you came on, or I just saw it. Who could be older? Governor Abbott is contributing to Kamala Harris.
Breaking news for you. This has been a busy morning already. We are going live to pictures from Washington, D.C. And
great.
the latest report is that there have been immigrants by bus
That's wonderful. Look at this.
off
Holy
at
mackerel.
Vice President Kamala
Oh my
Harris's
God.
residence.
He got them right to her
This
doorstep.
is just outside her home.
Go wheelchair
You can
Willie.
see from these
Way to go.
pictures dozens.
Oh my Lord.
I would say more than 100. I don't know if there
Wow.
are multiple hundreds of people outside on the lawn there, but not a small number of people outside, not the White House.
I think that's great. Where do you deliver migrants? How about to the border czar? Personally,
She's not the border czar. That's a Republican smear.
I'm sorry.
There's also plenty of footage of her 2016 posters and tweets by herself as the first Indian American United States Senate candidate. Plenty of stuff from her own camp about being Indian American. 2020, she switches. That's the first time goes over to African American. Before that, Indian American. I guess I could, some people could do the same thing if they played that game. But clearly, a change in the weather led to a change in hyphens.
Well, keep in mind, don't worry, Mark, she's studying up. I have proof.
Okay.
What'd you get?
I've got some Coltrane.
Okay, so I don't know. Do you know music?
Yeah, I got some Ray Charles, motherfucker.
So, first
Hold
of all,
on.
Charlie Mingus.
I got Mingus. Everybody loves
Great
Mingus.
jazz.
Damn straight, motherfucker.
One of my favorite albums of all time. Roy
Got Nina
Ayers,
Simone.
Everybody Loves Sunshine. You know this one?
Yeah,
So
sure, I
good.
got it.
It's a classic.
Got it in doubles.
And then Porgy and Bess. Right?
Who's that? Porgy and Bess?
Porgy and Bess.
That's
yeah.
funny. That's funny.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
I was just driving by.
So,
But I was just driving by a record store and I figured I'd go in and get some quintessential black albums.
You know who put that out? I love it. Tariq Nasheed.
I don't know who that is.
Tariq Nasheed
squad
is
squad or something.
He's not squad, but he's like a very
Squad
strong
adjacent
BLM type. Let's just say
dude.
that. No, it's coming at her from the left, dude. Not from.
Wow, wow.
That's not.
You
a
got to give it to
Republican
him. You
person.
got to give it to him.
He just thrashed her.
Wow. Go BLM.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Go BLM. Our regularly scheduled program on Watergate will be preempted tonight with a special Biden Trump assassination DA of LA episode. Thank you.
Yeah.
We're going to preempt the Watergate, Eric and I, to do this insane news that's going on so fast that we can't even keep up with it. So we could barely keep up with the weekly news. We're going to push this thing back while we cover these insane events. Let's just start where I wanted to start, which is about this 12-minute speech that he gave the other night. And Biden came out, and adjacently to him, you'll see Hunter Biden, high as a kite, Mrs. Hunter Biden, whoever she is, and a couple of rando relatives on the left. I did not see that. What I did see was the fact that the broadcast was at 8:10 p.m., and his watch said 6:10 p.m. What he was caught doing was taping a live event 2 hours earlier, thereby bringing in the Hollywood cutters. And when I say cutters, I mean editors. This was caught by internet sleuths, and it showed that this was indeed another lie. This was not a live event. This was taped and edited. We don't know if he was yelling for help at the end or putting out a statement that I'm not cooperating, I'm not cooperating, I'm not cooperating, or whatever, because it was not live. It was taped and edited by their professional editing crew in the White House. So we don't know what he said. The president could be a hostage in the White House itself, Eric. We do not know.
Now, there is a community note on that. I don't know to verify it, but it's criticizing, saying that that's false.
Okay.
So I always want to know
his watch is set 2 hours back on purpose.
I don't know. They're saying when zoomed in, it doesn't always show the watch face clearly because of reflections, but when visible, it's consistent with the time shown on the upper right. Again, I don't know, and I'm always going to point out if they're going to push back and leave the discussion in there.
Okay.
But
the point of the matter is it was taped and the speech was edited. That's why it was barely 12 minutes long. I assume it was 30 minutes long. This is my gut telling me they cut it down to 12 because of rambling and incoherent statements by the president of the United States, who is still the president of the United States today, I assume, unless something else has happened.
Yeah, I mean, allegedly. I have no idea. I saw that picture though of the Biden family, which looked like American Gothic indoors, like the saddest row of people.
Well, it's weird that they're sitting right there. You know what I mean? I didn't know that until I saw that photo. They're sitting adjacent to him.
Probably staring. Do it.
They were staring at him. You know what I mean? Wow.
Yeah, that's weird. What do you think about I've seen a lot of these going around, and I never want to go too deep into them about how tall Joe Biden is suddenly appearing in pictures.
Tall or something, or
well, they're pointing out that wow, he's suddenly grown like 4 or 5 inches. He's really tall in a lot of pictures. However, do you remember that picture with him and Jimmy Carter and Rosalind Carter where he was like gigantic and Jimmy Carter was really tiny?
Yeah.
There are perspective issues sometimes with the camera. So I'm hesitant to go too far with those photographs because, it could be an optical illusion. It's like there's a picture of me with Tim Pool. And I look like I ate Tim Pool. I'm so much bigger. And in reality, I was stepped forward of him and he was kind of back to my right a little bit. And he looks like he's 1.5 feet shorter than I am practically. So
I don't know anything about that. I do know that that watch says 6'10" and the speech was at 8'10". So they could say whatever the fuck they want. I'm not going to change my opinion on that. So let's get into some other things that I think are going to happen with Camela Harris. Why don't we talk about the new 3-month candidate that's got 90 days left to campaign. This is where we are. And all of the campaign literature has to be destroyed. It has to be burned because that's out. All the Biden-Harris posters have to be thrown away. All the T-shirts have to be thrown away. Nobody's talking about this. The fact that she is now in the Harris blank presidential campaign. There is no vice president at this time. We now have Trump and Vance, formerly Trump and Pence. The PE was changed to VA on many of the signs, right, Eric? And 20 was put 24. So you could still use the same sign. If you white out PE, you could put in VA. True. And then so now you've got Trump Vance. So Biden can't be on any of her signs because he's done. I mean, he's a dead man walking, and then she just has blank there. She has
and hers is on the bottom, so that's a bigger problem.
Yeah.
So you got to move it up.
Can extend. You could cut off the top of the sign or the T-shirt, and use the space on the bottom if there is any space, and have Harris and then whatever's below it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Harris, because many times Biden called her President Harris.
Mm-hmm.
So there were, there's a lot of audio that they could use from back in the day.
True.
That are now they could use currently, where he's calling her President Harris, or that type of thing. But she has got to pick someone else to be the vice president. I was wondering, who do you think that's going to be?
I'm not sure. I'm wondering if it's Mark Kelly though, and the reason why is there's a pretty strong rumor coming out that Obama actually wanted Mark Kelly, which I'm surprised about. And we both know that they snuck by Obama. There's no way that letter and that campaign came out, but suddenly Obama endorses her today with Michelle. I have that too.
Wait, let me ask something. Is Michelle Obama done from the campaign of the right, the nonstop campaign of conservatives who insisted nonstop for year after year after year after year after year? Is this done? This insane?
Probably not, dude. Probably
Okay.
not.
All right.
Probably not. No, I will vote now. But okay, here. This is where I'm going.
Yeah.
Hello. What's up, bitch? What's up, bitch? What's up?
Oh, you're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala,
My
I
girl.
am proud of you. This
That's right.
is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness.
That's right.
Michelle, Brock, this means so much to me. I'm looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both.
Tropple.
And getting out there, being on the road, but most
With my
of all, I
Jew
just wanna
husband.
tell you, the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean
Word
more than I
salad.
can express. So
Alert.
thank you
Word
both
salad. Alert.
so much, and
To me.
we're gonna have some fun with this too.
You can have some fun with this.
We're gonna have some fun. That's right, motherfucker. Because I got some weed and we got some wine, and let's do this. Let's do this shit.
We're gonna have
Wasn't
some fun.
she voted the most far left senator in the United States Senate out of 100, Eric?
No, that's gone. Removed.
Okay, was she voted? Was she named to the left of Bernie Sanders of the 100?
Yeah, she
Come on.
was at some alternate timeline because this history has now been removed by the institutes. But she was voted the most liberal senator in the country. Absolutely.
But liberal is really not the right word.
Well, it's leftist. Or they wrote it as liberal.
I know they write it as liberal, but it's not liberal.
I agree.
Because they
FDR.
believe that they're not liberals and they're progressive. So that's the wrong nomenclature. She's clearly far to the left of anybody who's, well, those are Congresswomen, Tlaib and the other cats. But in the Senate,
she was a senator. Yeah. So,
right.
yeah.
As a Senate, right. I'm saying as a Senate. Now you've got Karen Bass, who's the mayor, who was a Congresswoman, who was a former Black Panther and a communist. But that was in the House. That was in the House. I'm talking about the Senate, United States Senate. Is there anyone further left than her? They're saying that she was to the left of Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders ran.
Who's Farrakhan's buddy? Is he a congressman or a senator? I get confused.
Oh, the former attorney general up in Minnesota.
Yeah, there's a senator.
No, he's a congressman. He's a congressman up
Okay, see, that's why I get confused because there's some of them are Congress. The congressmen have the real wild cards, more so.
Yeah. Now she before that was attorney general of the great state of California, so she's got that record to run on, and so you got those two things, and then you got the cackler in chief, where she's vice president. The entire vice presidency seems to be her cackling. As a senator, she didn't cackle. As attorney general, there was no cackling. So this is a relatively new thing, and well, addiction is progressive, so maybe it wasn't really having a hold on her back in the Senate days or in the attorney general days when she was putting Black men in jail for weed here in California. I mean, there's plenty of people.
It was the Peter principle. She managed to hit the highest point of incompetency and just is giggling her way through.
Okay, that's it could be. It could be
Well,
very interesting.
I'm thinking it might be Mark Kelly. Because if the Obamas did want Mark Kelly in there, she names him. And we can have your slogan about, what the space cadet and astronaut.
Yeah, right. I don't think they want that slogan, but I think Cooper out of North Carolina, Cooper out of North Carolina, I think would be a much more logical choice because A, he's termed out. B, he looks like an extra from a movie as a vice president. If there's War of the Worlds 3. He could play himself in the vice presidential role if he's chosen. And it's a southern state where she can go in and do her southern accent. And I'll say this again.
Good point. Kelly's a twin, though.
Kelly is a twin, and he's also a United States senator in a purplish state. And again, you don't give up a Senate seat. I'll say it again, for a vice presidential slot. I don't think the Democrats are going to fall for that.
But his twin.
His twin could replace him in the Senate.
Or his twin could be the one she picks. I don't know. They're both astronauts.
You know what? That's not a bad idea.
I'm just saying.
Greatest episode of all time on Naked and Afraid last night. Two stunning Australian twin women and two guys who are from the Deep South, and they're twins. And they're both twins, Naked and Afraid, all four of them. Greatest episode of all time. Both of them, both groups, incredible hunters. The Southern guys with bows and arrows, and the Australian knockout supermodel girls with bows and arrows, killing elk with bows and arrows naked. Greatest episode of all time. It's a double episode. I think it's in the season 11. I don't even know. Just want to put that out there.
Mark's watching this on repeat.
No. It's only for couples. This is not something you don't watch alone. This is a couples show. So if you have a husband and wife team there, strongly recommend you watch these episodes. But go on, Eric.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Here's another headline that they're going to have to get rid of.
What?
Because, we're talking about Kamala has Biden baggage, right? Well, she claimed she had a key role in Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal decision.
Oh, I like that. Way to go, lady.
This one is from 2021, 425. She was the, quote, last person in the room. So she told him, Mark, she's the one who pushed him through, according to her. So go ahead and own that one, Kamala.
You know, that last person in the room thing is always interesting, that phrase, right? Doesn't that come from, from vice presidential politics or whatever, the advisor to the president? I was the last person in the room on many important issues, the last person in the room. And I mean, can't you see this guy just, speaking of like Ray, the FBI director, not to be confused with Link Ray, the famous guitar player. Ray, the FBI director, testified that he was briefing Biden on many occasions, and they were grilling him about the mental state of Biden. And boy, did this guy hedge on this thing. I mean, if anybody wants to see a professional performance by a bureaucratic weasel, just look at Ray, the FBI director, Ray's performance. I when asked by a couple of different people on that panel, Jordan's panel 2 days ago, about his opinion of the mental state over a period of years of every time he briefed. And Matt Gaetz gets in there too, laughing, making some jokes to his face about his answers, which are brilliantly evasive about Biden's mental state.
Mark, not just anyone can follow up James Comey.
No, I know. Comey was good. There was no doubt about it. Comey was very good. But this guy's great. This guy this guy's at Newsom level. Dude, yeah. This guy's Newsom level great. Comey was kind of smarmy and smug. This guy's smooth as F, man. I gotta tip my hat.
No, I got the swarm. I get the swarm.
No, it's a little bit, but not the level of Comey, the closeted homosexual whose lover was the professor at NYU that he leaked information to and then to the New York Times. Comey in a league of his own, my friend.
Well, Comey is a much taller target.
Oh, that's true. Who can hide behind drapes? How many men can hide behind drapes, Hunley?
Mm-hmm. So what are you going to do? But while we're talking about sensibility, Mark, we need to pause for a second, and we need to look at an international event that is.
What do you got?
It's going to bring people together. Woo! Harmony. It happens every 4 years.
What is it?
Well, it's the Olympics, Mark. So we've got the opening ceremonies.
Oh, that looks professional as hell. Look at that. Are you kidding me? Is this Pride March or what is this?
This is the opening ceremonies of the Olympics in Paris.
Unfreaking believable, Eric. Wow. Well, it's coming to LA, so we got to get rid of the homeless. And that's where Newsom comes in. As yesterday, he signed an executive order banning homelessness, Eric. I don't know if you follow this, but he, after many, many years, found that he could sign an executive order because of the Supreme Court ruling, thereby allowing cities to take down encampments. This is the executive order that he signed to remove all homeless encampments in California. And he's saying that he is now allowed to do this because of the Supreme Court ruling that cities were able to enforce their own ordinances on the books of no camping in the streets of the United States in cities. So
right on time, we have somebody here to talk just about that.
Right. That's why I wanted to bring this up. There's a guy who is not the guy that we had 2 weeks ago, and we'll explain that to him when he comes on. Nathan Hochman is running for district attorney for Los Angeles County, the largest county in the United States of America with over 10 million people and quite a few homeless people. I don't know if they vote, but sometimes they do, because you can get an absentee ballot sent to a bunch of bushes near the police station over here and still be able to vote.
Yeah, we're not talking about Corey and George and no, I'm just kidding.
No, Hochman served as United States Assistant Attorney General during the Bush administration, 2008. Prior to that, Hochman was an assistant United States Attorney for the Central District of California from 1990 to 1997. He ran for the 2022 California Attorney General election and is currently a candidate against the legendary Gascon, who is here as the district attorney, survived a recall. And Nathan Hochman is running for LA County District Attorney. Please, God, help us. If Nathan Hochman can pull this off, I'm not moving to Texas. So, Hochman, you got to do this, bro. You got to do this.
I know.
Let's see if we can bring him in. Nathan, how's it going, bro?
You know, it's going very well. And I will do whatever I can so you don't have to leave.
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. We had a different Nathan Hochman on 2 weeks ago who was fantastic, but not you. So now we've got you, which is what I originally wanted to do, Nathan.
So wait, is that Nathan Hochman, the National Review writer?
Yes, and he's also Nate J. Hochman. So it's very confusing.
He goes by Nate. That's our one distinction, is that he's Nate. He actually wrote an article when I was running for Attorney General. He says, I'm not that Nathan Hochman.
That's
claiming,
funny.
by the way, to be much better looking, but I've never seen the guy.
Young kid, he came on. I think he knew we were looking for you. To be honest, I think he pulled a fast one, Nathan, and came on the show as like sort of a right-wing Abby Hoffman type. So
yeah, that's about right.
Am I correct in that description?
Yeah. In fact, the only other Nathan Hochman out there, because I do a Google search periodically, is a rugby player in New Zealand. So
oh, he's on next week. We have him on next week.
Exactly. I'll make sure you do the whole trio of Nathan Hochman.
Right. Okay. Nathan Hochman, why should you be the district attorney of Los Angeles County? Why you?
So let me tell you why I'm running, and it also helps answer the question why people should vote for me. Lifelong Angelino, born in LA, grew up here, married 31 years now, and raised 3 kids. Do not want to leave. I'm not going to allow some guy coming in from San Francisco who destroyed the public safety there to come to LA, destroy the public safety here, and drive me out of town.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen as long as I have, the ability to fight and join a whole lot of people who want to fight against him. And what I would do is take 34 years of criminal justice experience. A ton of it is a federal prosecutor doing every case from narcotics trafficking and gang cases to international money laundering. I ran the environmental crime section, ran after air, sea, and land polluters, was in the public corruption section, went after corrupt public officials and dirty cops. I had then the chance to get a presidential nomination, a U.S. Senate confirmation to run the U.S. Department of Justice's tax division. Went back to D.C., ran a division with $100 million budget and 350 lawyers doing cases all over the United States. Came back to L.A., was the head of 2 major international law firms, government investigations practices, and along the way was the president of the L.A. City Ethics Commission and the co-founder of the LA Sheriff's Foundation. And so what I would do is bring 34 years of this criminal justice experience on both sides of the aisle as a prosecutor and a defense attorney against George Gascon, who literally has never personally prosecuted or defended a single criminal case in his entire life. And he implemented the most pro-criminal, anti-victim policies in LADA history without consulting with any of the 750 deputy district attorneys that he presides over and leads, or supposedly leads, without really working with the tens of thousands of law enforcement officers. He's abandoned the victims that he's supposed to represent. So I can go back on day one, working with prosecutors, law enforcement, victims, reverse out his pro-criminal policies, and I can go through a whole bunch of them on day one, and really reestablish the esprit de corps that used to make the LA District Attorney's Office the gold standard by which all other DA's offices were considered.
There was a time when that was true, right, Nathan?
Not that long ago. I mean, literally before George Gascon, 4 years ago, for decades.
Seems like decades.
I know. LA County used to be the gold standard. Right now, when George Gascon tries to explain why 2/3 of the people of LA County feel less safe today than they did when he came into office, he says that LA is no worse than, and then he gives a whole bunch of cities across the United States. What I respond to is LA, the no worse than standard will never be my standard.
Right on.
You know, it's either the gold standard, the best, or striving to be the best. And that's the only thing that we accept as a standard. You know, George Gascon has basically, you know, created a situation in LA where people are voting with their feet. They're actually leaving LA, or they're, you know, complaining about it. But now they actually have a chance to do something about it, which is voting on the November 5th general election.
Right on. All right. So let me ask you about the issues then. What about fentanyl? What do we do about fentanyl?
Two things that we can do about fentanyl, neither one of which George Gascon is doing. The first is you have to bring real enforcement to go after the fentanyl dealers. And I don't call them dealers, I actually call them murderers.
Right on.
You know, 2 milligrams of fentanyl will kill you in 2 minutes. Most of the
Tell me about
fentanyl is put in counterfeit pills like Xanax, Percocet, Adderall, Oxycontin. And unfortunately, people are taking these pills not knowing that they have lethal doses of fentanyl in them, and they're dying before anyone can get Narcan to them.
Yeah.
So you got to go after the fentanyl murderers as the second-degree murderers that they are. George Gascon, for the most part, has refused to do that. And you got to couple it with a massive education effort, really getting into the schools, the middle schools, the high schools, the students, the teachers, and the parents to let them understand that fentanyl is not like marijuana. It's really not about getting you high. It is going to kill you. DEA estimates that 7 out of 10 of those fake pills have lethal doses of fentanyl, worse odds than a Russian roulette. So education and enforcement have to be hugely invested in to even begin to touch the fentanyl epidemic we're experiencing.
Well, how do we turn off the spigot at the border? I mean, from it coming out of Mexican drug cartels via China to Angelenos.
That's a federal, I mean, the border's a federal issue.
Yeah.
And you've got to hopefully find, you know, the federal.
Well, if I could interject, apparently the nerve center is LAX, Nathan. So
right, the
according
airport.
to the ABC program that they did on LAX, that seems to be the center of a lot of things that you'll be in charge of.
Correct. But the problem isn't, unfortunately, I mean, you can do your best to arrest people once they leave LAX and they then become the jurisdiction of either the LAPD or the LA Sheriff's Department.
Right.
But if you can interdict it right at the border, whether the border, again, is the southern border itself or the airport itself. And part of the difficulty they're having is it is coming in pill form. It's hard to detect. And the consequences, if you bring it in and you actually peddle it here in Los Angeles, have been very, very minor.
Right.
So if we increase the consequences to the real consequences that murderers should face.
Love that.
And then you do your best to go after the demand side of the equation with education. You know, it's the only chance you have to really stem the tide of an exponential problem that is the #1 killer of 18 to 35-year-olds in our society.
Right. Well, I mean, will you seek the death penalty for various crimes unlike Gascon?
So what I have said and what I will continue to repeatedly say is that if you're the DA, you vow to uphold all the laws on the books. And as we know, the death penalty has been up for a proposition twice to eliminate it in the last 15 years. And each time those propositions have failed.
Yeah.
So as long as it's on the books, in the very rare heinous cases for which it applies, it will be considered. I can't tell you up front you know, what determination we're going to make, but it'll be on the table like every other legally available penalty to be considered in the few and rare cases in which it actually does apply.
All right. Talk to me about Newsom's ruling about his executive order on homelessness. What is the result of that, in your opinion, and how will you enforce that, or will you be involved in that, or what's your take on that?
Again, the order itself comes without teeth.
Yeah.
It comes without money. So it's a nice pronouncement. At least it shows the direction that the governor of California is going. And you can use that sort of the weight of moral authority if you have it to couple it more importantly with the Supreme Court case that just came down that allows cities to institute laws dealing with camping, for instance, and loitering and trespass and whatnot, which ultimately need a DA who's prepared to enforce what had been called the quality of life crimes. A lot of them are misdemeanors. A lot of them are trespass, loitering,
Well,
prostitution,
it's broken windows,
vandalism,
Nathan,
broken
right?
windows types of crimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Right now, Gascon has no interest in enforcing those type of crimes. I would go back to the old drawing board and say, and using the broken window philosophy, that the only way to really go after major crimes in society is you got to start small with the ones that people see every single day.
Mm-hmm.
So if we empower the police again to go into homeless encampments and enforce the law where appropriate, then the goal again is not to fill the prisons to the breaking point. That's not, that's almost the failure of the criminal justice system. It's to deter people from committing the crimes in the first place. And right now, that deterrence is completely lacking in Los Angeles County because Gascon is basically taking the handcuffs off the criminals and put them on law enforcement and his own prosecutors. So we need to go back to sensible enforcement of the laws on the books in order to make a serious dent in the problem.
How about shoplifting? Aren't you guys at that $900 limit or whatever? Can that be reversed at all? Because I feel like crime has been legalized, in my opinion.
So you're probably aware that there's going to be a proposition on the ballot, Proposition 36. And what Proposition 36 is going to do is go after the repeat offenders if it passes. It's going to modify Proposition 47 to basically say if someone goes ahead and steals just under $950 on the third time, the third conviction is a felony eligible.
Yeah.
And you can go to state, which reverses Proposition 47, which right now allows you to steal as much as you want, and not as much as you want, $950, but every single day, and not have the amount it never turn into a felony.
Right. Now the
really penalties on fentanyl use and possession.
The proposition itself, the wording will be written by the Attorney General Bonta. Am I correct on that, Nathan?
The title and summary are written by the Attorney General. The actual words of the proposition are written by the people who passed the or got the proposition through the signature stage onto the ballot.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to some internal stuff. I mean, is Gascon campaigning? I'm hearing that he has not been campaigning and that George Soros has cut off funding to him. I don't know if this is a rumor. Do you know anything about this, Nathan?
What little I've heard in respect to that is that George Soros hasn't funded the main vehicle that he used in prior elections to fund DA.
We lost you.
I think you're muted out a little bit there, Nathan.
Yeah, can you check your mic?
You know, the work of George Soros is endless. He can.
I know he's cutting them off right now.
He can mute a guy in a car. That's how powerful he is.
We're not hearing.
Maybe we can come back to Nathan later when he drives into a safer area.
Apparently,
let's come back.
I won't be able to hear him in the background though to hear when he comes back in.
Well, this isn't going to work either. So let's just get out of here and we'll go on with the show. It's about 3:12 anyway.
All right, Nate. Sorry, we can't hear you right now. Your microphone's cut out.
Okay, so let's go. We got to move. Let's go. Chop chop. Okay, that was great for what it lasted. We'll get him back if we can, but I just wanted to give people a sense of what's going on out here in LA County. We have a guy named Dean Logan who is the LA County Registrar. If we get him back, I wanted to ask about him. He's the one in charge of counting the physical votes. Dean Logan is an avowed communist. And he's been to the previous Soviet Union and Communist China to see how they run their elections. He's the one that counted the Gascon recall votes. He's the one that counted the Rick Caruso, Karen Bass mayoral election that took a couple of weeks. I wanted to ask Nathan about Dean Logan and whether he is comfortable with him counting the votes this time around. I also wanted to ask him about, which I will if he comes back on, about Jewish Heritage Night at Dodger Stadium, how it's the only ethnic group now not allowed to have a heritage night at Dodger Stadium. Every other group ever invented does, except the Jews. So if he does come back, I will ask him about that.
I can pop it back and see if he comes.
No, don't worry about it. We'll get it back. We'll get it back. All right, let's go now to where we left off with Biden, because I just wanted to make one last prediction and then go into the assassination, if I could, Eric, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't know what's going on over there. Okay. So here, because I'm seeing a lot of our predictions ending up on mainstream news shows, Eric. Have you? I mean, I've seen Mark Levin, I've seen others all of a sudden saying stuff that we've discussed on the show. And I'm going to put out a prediction now that may shake a lot of people up, but I believe there's two parts of the prediction. As you know, on multiple episodes, I predicted the last 6 months of this year will be the craziest in American politics and maybe in American history, which I'm still sticking with. Which I've said that repeatedly over the past year. Anyway, my new prediction is that on Election Day, the day after Election Day, if Camela Harris loses, Joe Biden will step down and name her president of the United States. And he will do this under the couching of her being the first Black woman president. He will allow her to be president till January 25th. He will resign on November 6th. There will be riots throughout the United States for 3 months, not because of her, but because of Trump's victory, which I predicted anyway. November, December, and into January will be 3 of the most violent months in American history. There will be looting at the level of what we saw with the death of the crack guy. This will go on because they will be in power after the election for 3 months, and Trump will be president-elect. He will then have to do whatever he's got to do on January 25th. But you will see some of the worst looting and violence and destruction in the history of the United States, November, December, and into January. I am predicting that he will name Camela Harris, if she loses, to the presidency. Actually, she will just succeed him because he will resign with the intention and a speech of naming her for racial reasons, like he did with a Black woman on the Supreme Court, and to give himself a feather in his cap. It'll be kind of artificial, but she will be, for 3 months, if she loses, president of the United States.
I'm flabbergasted on that one. So
I know. Came to me in a dream. Came to me in a dream last night. Some of these things I see very clearly, and I'm just putting that out there today because it came to me in a dream last night. And
I'm going to go the other way just because I pray you're wrong.
Okay. No. Look, I'm just putting it out there.
Might be a wish, but yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah, no. Look, it is what it is. I think it'll be irregardless. Oh, Nathan's back.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay.
Hear you.
Let me ask you a couple of questions before you disappear again. Jewish Heritage Night at Dodger Stadium, Nathan. Why are the Jews the only group not allowed to have a Jewish Heritage Night in Dodger Stadium?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
Especially since if you probably looked at who the season ticket holders are, there's probably a fair number of Jews that are
I'm one of them. You're looking at one.
I would think that if ever there was a letter writing campaign that should be instituted immediately, that would be it. I don't know if I would tell you I would be happy to sign that letter.
Okay, thank you. Pogroms on West Pico. What do you do about them? You're from Beverly Hills. What are you going to do about it?
Yep. So here's my view overall. First, I'm a big First Amendment advocate. If you want to scream reprehensible and vile, things on the street corners, so be it. Right. But we have time, place, and manner restrictions on the First Amendment. Right. And when words become illegal conduct, that's when the DA needs to step in, and not just reactively, but proactively. So if you want to go ahead and shut down a freeway, if you want to shut down an airport, if you want to vandalize a college campus, or you want to engage in violent acts in front of a synagogue on Pico Robertson, you're going to go to jail.
Right.
And that message needs to be, communicated to those folks extremely clearly.
Thank
you.
So
they don't have any suspicion afterwards. Oh, I can't believe you're sending me to jail. No, the lines are very clear between words and illegal conduct, and illegal conduct has to be punished, and in a way that makes obviously proportional sense. But you cannot pretend like Gascon has done that these folks aren't committing a whole variety of illegal acts. In fact, each time he does it, it emboldens them to commit more.
Okay, let me ask you this. The mayor, Karen Bass, is an avowed Marxist and a former Black Panther, and she controls the chief of police and the LAPD indirectly. If there's an insurrection and violent upheaval in the city of Los Angeles, how is that controlled? Should the chief of police be an elected position, Nathan, like the sheriff of LA County, to avoid, and this is a national problem. This is not just a Los Angeles County, LA City problem. The amount of control that mayors have over urban police forces has become an incredible threat to order. How do you see this playing out if there is violent upheaval in Los Angeles again, like there was during George Floyd, and as am I predicting will happen after the election coming up in November?
So it's interesting. The mayor truly doesn't have law enforcement power.
Legally.
She has none. Legally,
Right.
or technically, or any level. Does she have law enforcement
Her appointment gives her the power, doesn't it, Nathan?
No. Once she makes that appointment, in order for the police chief to get removed, it's not necessarily a one vote mayor issue. You know, they have to go through the entire police commission. And actually, it's a difficult process if a police chief wants to stay and the mayor wants the police chief to leave. That being said, interestingly, in this county, we have a appointed police chief for LAPD, but an elected sheriff for the LA Sheriff's Department.
That's what I was referring to.
And again, we have, one could argue both ways. In other words, the sheriff basically, although the county board of supervisors just changed the law with the sheriff, now if you have 4 votes against you, for certain derelictions of your duty, you can actually be removed as the sheriff. That's never been challenged in court yet, but they certainly passed that in 2022.
Why do you think they passed that? Was it because of a previous sheriff, Nathan?
Oh yeah, of course.
We have a national audience, so that's why
I'm sorry. Yeah. We had a sheriff that the 5 members of the board of supervisors all didn't like. And the sheriff was basically saying that since he's elected, the only people who can remove him are the voters.
Right.
And the board of supervisors were saying, no, we should have some control over it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to amend our county charter to actually give us control. So if 4 out of 5 of us find you in effectively dereliction of your duty or engaging in dishonest acts, we can actually remove you. Now, a sheriff has never challenged that in court to see if it's actually legal, because that particular sheriff got voted out of office. But it becomes an interesting question on who effectively you want responsible. Do you want a sheriff that unilaterally acts and has no control over that sheriff other than the voters, either through a recall or an election every 4 years? Do you want the mayor and a police commission to have that responsibility? So if they appoint the wrong sheriff, you can vote the mayor out of office, or you can certainly raise holy hell against a police commission. I don't necessarily know which is the better system. Obviously, it depends on the sheriff, the police chief, the mayor, and the county board of supervisors. I mean,
don't you guys have a city council problem already too? Like a lot of them seem to be locked up. So, do you want those people or people like that?
I mean, Nathan, right? He's right. Nathan. No. Do we have to expand the size of the prisons to meet the incredible incarceration rate of the city council?
You know what? Considering we have 4 city council people that have either been charged federally or charged by the state, I mean, it's just, the level of corruption, sadly, in the LA City Council has been enormous. So
let me ask you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Just to answer your prior question, it's who you ultimately want responsible for that decision as to who the police chief is. And one could make an argument that if the mayor puts someone in and you don't like it, you hold the mayor responsible. And then get that person out actually faster than you otherwise could if you had to wait for an election every 4 years.
Right. Well, let me ask you this about another character, the LA County Registrar's Office. He seemed to insist, this is Dean Logan, who is an avowed Marxist. He's gone to the former Soviet Union by his own admission and to the Communist Chinese government to see how they run their elections. He oversaw the Rick Caruso, Karen Bass election and the recall of your nemesis, George Gascon's recall. He refused to allow any viewers. What will you do differently than these people to count or assure the count of your votes in this upcoming election on November 5th, Nathan Hochman?
You know, it's interesting. This election, because it is a presidential election, will be more scrutinized than probably any election in U.S. history. I've spoken to both the heads of the California Republican and Democratic parties. They're going to have more election monitors, poll monitors, lawyers on standby than we've ever had. You know, we have in California the ability to have everyone get a mail-in ballot 30 days ahead of time. And a lot of people are starting to get used to actually mailing it in and then tracking their ballot to make sure that that ballot is actually received and ultimately counted. So again, this particular election, Dean Logan, that register, would have a much, much more difficult time messing around with than he did with the signatures that he invalidated so that we didn't have a Gascon recall. There's a lot more
the invalidated signatures were almost exactly the amount that were needed to issue the recall, Nathan, right? Or it was pretty close.
Well, I mean, there were 715,000 signatures submitted.
Right.
We needed 567,000 validated ones.
Right.
He basically said he invalidated 190,000 signatures.
That's pretty
they
close.
They were about 44,000 signatures short. Now, it got thrown into the courts.
Right.
I'm absolutely convinced if they had enough time to play it out in the courts, they would have recovered at least 50,000 signatures. But sadly, the time expired. Now the 2024 election's happening. So that issue sadly is dead. But the good part is that Gascon can't dodge the November 5th election.
Right. That being said, I just wanted to ask you if Karen Bass does not enforce the order by the governor, and I know it's a order that is in name only, and the other surrounding cities begin to enforce the order by the governor, the ban on urban camping. If Burbank, if Glendale, if Beverly Hills begins to enforce, will the homeless simply move into the LA region from these outlying areas into LA City by the lack of enforcement by LA City? As Karen Bass has already said, she's not going to enforce this. Does this become a dystopian nightmare for you as the district attorney if these other cities enforce this ordinance and the homeless move in mass into one particular region?
Yes, for that particular region. As you know, LA County has 88 cities. So
yes,
for one of those cities,
well, let's say 87 of them enforce it and one doesn't in this mystery world.
Right. I mean, assuming that homeless folks are decently rational actors, and they're going to go, if someone's basically saying you can't put your tent here, but you can put it across the street. And there's actually some famous examples in LA where LA City is on one side of a street. And let's say Culver City is on the other side.
That's what I was thinking.
Culver City has no tents or encampments. And LA, the other side, literally, I think it's Venice Boulevard, is littered with homeless encampments. So, I mean, I think you will see that writ large if 87 cities or whatever percentage enact anti-camping ordinances and truly enforce them, and LA City doesn't. You know, it's sort of like water on a roof. I mean, water is going to find that the one leak you have on your roof, and that's where it's going to come down. If LA City is that leak in the roof of LA County, that's where the homeless will most likely end up.
Okay. Where can we help you? How can we send in donations to help you do this, Nathan? Where is your the link, or where can people, this is a national audience we have, a worldwide audience actually. How can they help you pull this off?
Certainly. The website's probably the best portal to go through, and it's just my name, Nathan Hochman, all one word. It's Nathan, and Hochman is HOCHMAN.com. You know, there's both links to, if you're in LA or LA County, there's links to volunteer, there's links to donate, there's links to get lawn signs. There's a ton of information there. And even if you're not in LA County, if you know people in LA County, and we'll share this information with them, the biggest issue right now is to make sure people get out to vote on November 5th. Gascon is counting on the low turnout, as low as possible.
Yeah.
Which will probably focus more on the extreme left part of the electorate. But if we get a full turnout, then our polling is showing that Gascon will lose by 15 points.
Oh, very
and
nice.
that's the goal, certainly.
Very nice. Well, we'll put the links below on the video so they could look at the links, and we'll have them below on our video, Nathan. Nathan, thank you. Hope to have you back when you win or right before. Let's do this again as we get closer to the election, if you like, Nathan.
Great. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was great.
All right. This super chat here from Dick Dickerson. Can't ignore $50 Dick Dickerson super chat. Mark, what's Newsom going to do with all the homeless now? I was just in Riverside and there's a damn homeless city there.
Right. Well, that's what we were just referring to. What's going to happen is Riverside and the other surrounding cities have indicated they will now enforce the executive order signed by Governor Newsom to take down immediately their homeless encampments. They will then migrate to the next town, which will do the same thing, which will eventually lead to Los Angeles, which is the biggest city where Karen Bass has vowed not to enforce it. Now, Newsom, and to get into some detail to help Dick understand this, Newsom can turn off the spigot for money, and he's done this before to cities that have disagreed with him on anything, COVID, lockdowns, beach shutdowns. He has done this before, and he has threatened to turn off the spigot to LA if Karen Bass does not cooperate with him. So now you've got kind of a lefty Democrat fighting a communist who's doing this for ideological reasons. This is really interesting to me for many reasons. Obviously, I live here, but blah, blah, blah. Politically, it's fascinating because Newsom is more of a pragmatic Weasley operative, and Karen Bass is much more of an ideological, progressive Marxist Leninist who is doing the homeless dance for political, ideological reasons. Now, all that being said, Newsom, a year ago, in the past year, has used Caltrans, has used the highway patrol to get the homeless out from under the highways that he could physically, legally control through his control of the California Highway Patrol. So he's been quietly doing this for a year of homeless encampments that are near or on California freeway systems. Don't forget the Olympics are coming too, and they want to make this place look clean in LA for the Olympics. I don't know if Karen Bass cares about that, but Newsom certainly does because he plans to run for some higher office as he's termed out in 2026, Dick. I hope that gives you some depth of answer there.
Definitely. I just wanted to put it in there because I felt like that was
no, that's cool. I mean, that's as far as that's my opinion on it. I mean, that's as I see it right now. There's going to be a migration of the homeless to the center, to LA, to the biggest city. And there's already possibly, somebody pointed out 0.5% of the population of California is homeless, which is a tiny, tiny minority, generating so much funds. Just think about it. 99.5% of the people living in California, that's 40 million people, have a home, have an apartment. Okay. That's an enormous amount. All of this is about 0.5% of the population that is intransigent and addicted to meth and fentanyl and drugs and mental illness, who are causing massive amounts of money to be siphoned off by corruption and by this homeless industrial complex, as I call it, HIC, and having all these NGOs now feeding at the trough of political funding, political finance and tax funding for entire buildings being built now for these cats who will never go in there, never stay there. And these incredible corrupt amounts of money that are floating around, leading to, as Nathan was saying, the city councilman going to jail. The corruption, Lenny Bruce once said about Chicago's so corrupt, it's thrilling. And he said that in the late 50s about Chicago. Los Angeles is Chicago in the late 50s now. That's how corrupt Los Angeles is in terms of city politics and money, bribery, building trades, everything. It's like Chicago was back in the day.
Well, my belief on this stuff. As long as there's money in the problem shall never be solved.
Well, the reason, that's a great line, but the reason it's important is because we now have a woman running for president who is the former attorney general of the state of California. The reason we talk about California is because it becomes a problem for the country. And now you see, in particular, the former AG of California running for president, and you've got Newsom who's stacked up waiting to run the next time. So the influence is enormous out here in terms of national politics. You've got Pelosi, you've got a lot of different things going on here that affect the rest of the country for better or for worse.
Totally agree. So
plus I live here, so that's
before we leave California, we got Secret Service that ties it to national.
Yeah, this is a story. This came out yesterday. Just to put a button on a story Eric and I covered. This was when Biden came out to Hollywood for that fundraiser with George Clooney, who later turned on him. That was at the Peacock Theater, which used to be the Coda. I can't remember. It was right next to the Lakers, where the Lakers play. Anyway, so the Secret Service guy went to his hotel and was attacked by, I didn't know it was 3, but they arrested 3. And there was a shootout with the Secret Service. And this is the reason I'm talking about this, because the Secret Service is in the news. They caught these 3 guys. I love if Eric could show a picture of the 3 guys if you see them. They're just 3 regular guys who had been arrested so many times that the media lost count and released. These 3 cats here in LA, they finally found them in Watts, South Central, and LA, had so many arrests they couldn't even list. They couldn't list them. This is why I wanted Nathan Hochman to come on, because it's so out of control here that unless we get Hochman into LA, it's going to become like Mad Max, and some people already believe it's like Mad Max. These 3 guys were in a shootout with a Secret Service guy trying to steal his gym bag. Okay, one of them, the guy on the far left in the red, was actually wounded, and they got the DNA, the LAPD, I believe, off of his blood, and arrested all 3 of these cats in the shootout. The Secret Service agent was not wounded, but look, it's not even safe for Secret Service agents is the point of the story.
Yeah, and that's Biden's team. It's not even the...
that was Biden's team. That wasn't even Trump's team, the weaker, fatter, more feminine team that Trump has.
Now, I saw another story. It's not exactly California, but it kind of comes out of California. And this one just came across the bow, if you will. I thought it was very interesting. And I'm surprised actually more of this we don't see. This guy, Andrew Left, apparently is a famed short seller and pundit. And he has a habit of going on all these different channels, the finance channels, and I get what they're claiming is his shtick essentially is, hey, you should invest in this company because this company is going great. Meanwhile, he actually invested in the company before he promoted the company. Or the alternative, he would short a company, then he would go on TV and trash whatever the company is. Meanwhile, using that punditry position, much like politicians, let's say, could use, like say Nancy Pelosi or somebody else, they just happen to know, oh, this law is going to go through or that's going to go through. The influence that this individual wields can cause the profiting. And I'm surprised that we don't see more of that, Mark, that, you have literally a person on there who's giving financial advice to the public. He says, company's garbage. He shorts the company before he says it's garbage. And of course it goes down because he said it was garbage. Mm-hmm. So they're going after him on a $16 million manipulation scheme.
Oh, I like that. Oh, good one. I think they should go after the weathermen who say there's going to be a tornado and there's no tornado and millions of dollars. No, I'm not even kidding, because the ratings go through the roof when they put out these false alerts. There's no repercussions. They could say that the entire city is going to be ripped apart by weather and nothing happens. And yet they sensed and figured out years ago that there's no downside to this. If they're wrong, they're wrong, but the ratings go through the roof. So I hope they get them too.
I agree. Now, I'm going to switch topics to, obviously the other big subject that we're covering for a while. Trump, Butler, assassination attempt.
Okay, right on.
Breaking news.
Go on.
Trump's going back.
I love this. Holy crap.
Planning to go back and have another big, beautiful rally.
Oh, my God. Now, let's get into this for a second. This will be great. And if you're in Pennsylvania, I hope you'll attend, or neighboring states. If you can get in there, that would also be great. But I want to get into the weeds on this because I've been doing a little digging on this. And apparently the Warren Commission in 1964, in their report of recommendations, which a lot of people never read, urged the Secret Service to create a slot for a deputy Secret Service director that was not beholden to the director of the Secret Service, but would be involved in the direct linking of local law enforcement and the integration of local law. Yeah, nobody knows this. This is from the Warren Commission.
Actually, good recommendation.
There was a number of really fantastic recommendations in the Warren Commission that were buried in their stupidity, but this one called for a deputy director spot that was not beholden to the director themselves, because as you know, the director is appointed by the president. The deputy director's job, according to this Warren Commission recommendations in the Warren Commission 1964, was that this guy would interface with local police authority and thereby coordinate, which we didn't see, which was the problem in Butler, obviously, was the lack of coordination between the two things. So this recommendation goes back to 1964, Eric, and it has been enforced in the past. There was a police commissioner named Raymond Kelly, the longest serving police commissioner in New York City history. He was appointed by Bill Clinton to do this very job for the Secret Service, which he did for 10 years. A lot of people don't know this, but Raymond Kelly did this for under the Bill Clinton administration and a little bit longer, and then went back to New York.
Did they eliminate the position after him?
No. The position can be there based on the director enforcing it or the president. It just didn't happen. It just got, went in and out. A lot of these
don't need it anymore. No, don't worry about it.
Right. So there is a deputy director, and the guy's name is Ron Rowe, who Bongino's having a heart attack about, because this cat is actually the one who set up the physics and lack of detail for the Trump detail. So he's now the physical guy, because it wasn't Cheadle who was involved in the physics. She was a figurehead. The guy actually responsible and running the Secret Service was Ron Rowe. And now he's the director. The guy who failed miserably is now the guy in charge. And that, I think, is kind of crazy.
Failing up, Mark.
Failing up.
Tradition.
Now, I'll give you another take that maybe somebody hasn't heard. The sniper who killed Crooks, and this is because of communication problems, the Secret Service sniper who killed, can I say that on YouTube? What can I say? I can't say.
You said sniper killed. I think you're okay.
Okay.
It's not a self-immolation.
Right. Who took out Crooks. And this is another take. This is mine personally, so you can take it to the wherever you want to take it. It's just my opinion. And I've heard other details about this. He thought, now hear me out here, Eric, because it takes a little explaining. He thought that Crooks was a cop. And the reason he thought Crooks was a cop and didn't shoot him early on when he saw him was because, according to the sniper and Secret Service team, there was supposed to be a Butler, PA sniper on that roof. They later went inside because of the heat. So when he sees initially Crooks, he perceives him because he was informed that there would be a police presence on that roof. And indeed, there was supposed to be. Oddly enough, that police presence is replaced by Crooks. And that's why he hesitated before and after, according to sources that I'm hearing, in taking out Crooks for the actual position that he was in on the roof. Just wanted to get that out there. Fascinating. I've never heard this. And it's an interesting take because they were apparently, as people have said, it was too hot or whatever reason. They went into the second floor and they were in these windows on the second floor, and Crooks gets up there, maybe not even realizing what these guys are doing down below. But to the sniper, the Secret Service counter sniper across the way, he sees Crooks early on, and people were deriding him for not taking out Crooks. And apparently what I believe is that he perceived Crooks to be the guy who was supposed to be there, Hunley, who was not there, which makes perfect sense to me as to why he didn't take Crooks out. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with the audience.
Well, there's even more coming in, and I haven't gotten to it all, but Benny Johnson's been out there and actually filming. And there's some camera angles from that sniper roof that I think you're talking about.
Yeah.
And there is definitely a tree right there.
He shot him in the head, so he was able to.
That wasn't him. It wasn't that sniper. The sniper we were looking at, that's not who shot him. It might have been the other counter team, and they might have been the one confused by him. But that particular sniper is blocked. They're also coming into more of what happened.
There's two snipers on. There's two counter snipers on the roof, right?
There's two teams. There's two roofs.
No, but I'm saying visually we see two different shooters on.
But that's one roof. But there's also another counter sniper team on another building.
What building are you from? Let's take a look at the buildings. Let's see what you got.
I got to find the building. I don't have that up right now, but
okay.
Let me finish.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway,
yeah.
That and the angle of that footage, and I don't have it already because I haven't had time to go through everything that they've done with the drones and things. I'm also not there, but it does appear that it could have been blocked for that view. But there was so they have the ones right across the way at that building, but part of that is obscured by a tree. Then there's another sniper team on another building that's like on the other side of the stage, if I recall, and kind of farther away and a different angle. And I think that's supposed to be the ones who actually took him out. They could have been confused. Another thing that's coming out is the ERU. Apparently there were supposed to be 3 of them, and they were the local law enforcement snipers or whatever, the ones who were inside. Well, I guess one of them did not show up that day for whatever reason, homesick, something. Anyway, they didn't show up. Then 2 of them were inside, and one of the 2 who was inside, or ESU, they're saying, one of the 2 who was inside saw a suspicious person, so he went downstairs to go track him down.
Right.
Then when he went to come back, his card didn't work on the building, so the guy who was up there went down to go let him in.
Weird.
It's a crazy.
Well, it might be a Keystone combination of crazy crap that just happened too.
Right. I'm just saying, but these
one thing I learned recently is the collapsible gun stock. I did not know that. The reason that they didn't see him with a full rifle was he had a collapsible gun stock.
This is true, but the gun stock is about, I think it goes from like 8.5 inches down to like 4 inches. So it might have obscured some, but it isn't like the whole thing folded down into a small little
that I don't know, but the collapsible gun stock was new to me. I did not know that. And also the testimony by Ray about the scope. I mean, did you hear?
I didn't get to hear the scope part, so tell me.
Well, I'm trying to find the phrasing because he said there was a scope to the best of his knowledge. I'm trying to find, did he have a scope was the question. Ray answered, I believe so, but as I sit here, I don't remember. I mean, that's on the record as the answer for FBI Director Ray. Now, some people have said it was a red dot device. Some people have said there was a full scope. So I don't know what the answer to that is, but according to the FBI, according to Ray, there was a scope. Which we didn't think last week. So I'm just adding that in there.
Yeah,
again, but we're not sure because Ray apparently is not
that's
sure.
That's like a non-answer. I think
I know, but I'm just giving it as the only answer we have from him.
Now, if it was an iron sight, and I mean the iron sight that it could have used is where you have a line on the front of the gun, Mark. I don't know if you're looking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Up on the front of the gun, you have a stick going up, and then you have a hole in the back. Yeah. And you line that up to do the shot. So I don't know if somebody would think that, but it's not.
Okay, so did he stash his rifle or carry it to the roof? Right?
Could have hit it ahead. Sure.
Okay, but that's not the answer he gave. So that was the question. The answer was he had a collapsible stock and was able to get it up there because the stock was collapsible, as opposed to the stashing or burying of a full assembled rifle and or leaving it somewhere. This was the answer from, I'm just giving Ray's answer from the FBI because some of it has to be true. I don't think they're making everything up, the FBI. I mean, they talked about the drones, Eric. You were talking about the drones, me and you, during the week. He claims that it was a live broadcast, not to the world, but to himself, that Crooks was doing a live feed of the drone, right? To himself. I don't know if it went out on a website or anything else. That's not what he was saying. But what Ray was saying, and I watched a lot of the Ray testimony, Ray said that they were re-engineering or reverse engineering the visual imagery of the drone based on the flight pattern of the drone that they have. So in other words, there's no visuals in the drone memory chip of what it saw, but based on its actual flight pattern and the space below, they've been able to reverse engineer what the drone was looking at, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and then I've seen more that the local law enforcement offered drones to them that morning, and they were refused by the Secret Service. So again, there's a lot out there. And Mark, I haven't seen all of it, honestly. I've got to.
Well, have you seen the full body cam footage?
I didn't watch all of it. I saw some of it. I saw where they managed to count out 8 casings.
Yeah. I mean, there is. Yeah, it is. You could see the blood is racing down the turret, the gaps in the roof. I mean, just a torrent of blood from the head. It's clearly
not too detailed. Yeah, but
no, I'm not, because it's opaqued by the body cam guy, the SWAT guy, who immediately started taking 1 million photos with his own personal camera, by the way, of course. And then the guy in the black, I know. I would have done the same thing. So he's like clicking away, and his body cam is seeing him clicking away with his own body cam camera, which is kind of funny. And then there's a woman there who's a SWAT member. All she wants to do is get off the roof. This guy doesn't want to leave. The guy with the cell phone camera, she is ready to throw up and wants to get off the roof, which is kind of interesting. Then some black dude shows up from the Secret Service, and he's just like kind of a timid guy. He's just standing around. They explain what happened to him. But then the guy from the ATF shows up, and he says to send the photos to this number I'm going to give you to do facial recognition on crooks. So the guy texts his photos at the recommendation of this ATF guy, who shows up in a black suit on the roof. Now, I don't know if the roof's hot or not. Nobody really mentions that. But you see in the body cam footage, literally them getting a ladder and going up to the roof with the body cam. Fascinating. They say, I need a ladder. And they go, here's a ladder. And it's not the Home Depot ladder. It's a taller ladder. So the 2 or 3 of them climb up on the ladder, and you see the body laying there, and it's dressed the same way. And, you know, the rifle has been pushed aside. There's also people up there already. And then they count the shell casings, and they count to 8. And, you know, we don't know anything more than what we see there, because the FBI is sitting on a lot of the information at this time.
Right now, there's some drone footage that has come in that I've been starting to look at. I plan to go up there too, but one of the things interesting is another point to get in is there's an air conditioning unit and a shed. So it's like somebody could go up on the AC unit, onto the shed, and onto the roof. That was an interesting.
Well, this cop, and all the cops that go up there, they climb onto little things besides the ladder, because the ladder isn't tall enough. The one they have in the body cam is not tall enough to reach the top. So they do hop up onto other things that look like some sort of units that you may be referring to.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see more, but I'm also not speculating. So far, they have not come up with anything. I've seen drone footage of the water tower. One thing that's very interesting: the top of the water tower, where the shadow and things were. It looked hollow, like you could actually see through that in the middle there, which would probably play hell with shadows too, because the light could go through the hole and cause even more confusion and shadows. But
it would be difficult with 15,000 people looking at a water tower for someone to go up and down and not be sighted, put it that way. And the place is crawling with cops the second it happens. And that ladder to the top of the water tower, it's a long climb, Hunley. That thing is like 4 stories in the air. Again, I think this will die out.
38 feet, I think.
I think this 38 feet is the water tower?
Yeah, I believe it's something like that. So, and that's like 4 stories. I mean, 10 foot per story, about 40 feet up. Yeah.
38 feet my ceiling is 10 feet. That's 3 stories high. Oh,
yeah, 3.8.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think this will disappear eventually. As this seems to me like this guy could have been his nickname if he chose to go down that road. And his nickname in school was school shooter. I think right. I mean, this guy could have been the guy that he was Googling.
Well, his Google search, and again, we have trouble trusting everything coming out of people, but what was it? He searched about Oswald. How far away was he from Kennedy? Why would you care? Oh, maybe because you're saying that it's a dick measuring contest, and I'm better. I shot from farther away. I mean, that seems like somebody who's out for a weird, twisted glory might actually seek.
Yeah, I mean, how the connections to the JFK case seem to be never ending with this Warren Commission recommendation in and out of being enforced over the years. Now, the Secret Service saying that they can't protect Trump in an outdoor rally is really an interesting moral dilemma for our audience. If people want to weigh in on this, does Trump say "F you, I'm going outside anyway," and not abide by the Secret Service saying we can't protect you in an outdoor rally? Or does he go indoors and allow his enemies to defeat him by being inside an 8,000 indoor person rallies? I don't know what the answer to this is.
Well,
maybe the audience has an opinion on it, but does he go outside and risk his life with an organization claiming we can't protect you? Or, as I recommended last week, do they insist? Does Trump insist that they bring out National Guard at any outdoor rally that he has for additional protection? Now, is it the ultimate protection? No, but it's a show of force, especially in a red state. I'm sure it could be done. A blue state, you may have to shame them morally to do it. And many of the blue state governors would not want to have blood on their hands if something happened. And I think ringing the place with the National Guard may be a nice visual show of intimidation, Eric, at least.
Well, if he's planning to have another rally, I think he answered your question.
Right. Okay. So now what? Now what do you do? Now what's the answer?
Well, I think
the Secret Service says we don't have the ability to protect you. Okay. What Ray Kelly has said, and I saw it in a thing with Ray Kelly. What Ray Kelly has said is part of the problem from day one was it's easy to interact, Secret Service and police, in an urban environment like Al Gonzalez's New York Intelligence Unit or Chicago or LAPD, where they have intelligence unit. The problem becomes when you're in a rural or suburban area where the police do not have the skill or manpower of a massive urban police force. So if you're not in a big city, like some of these Trump rallies, Eric, in a rural area, you end up with Andy of Mayberry.
Yeah, I'm going to push back a little bit on that.
Go ahead, knock yourself out.
Just because somebody's a small
push back against Ray Kelly.
Okay, fine. I mean, I'm sorry, Ray Kelly. It's not flyover country. There's a lot of damn good cops out there. Just because it's a small force doesn't make them incompetent. And I get a little annoyed about the whole.
You're saying that the SWAT team of Butler, PA, is the same as LAPD SWAT?
I'm saying
that's insane.
Oh no, I'm saying that the Secret Service got fooled by a 16-year-old kid. That you don't have to be a genius SWAT member to say get somebody on the damn roof. So give me a break about the whole. Well, we need to have even more of an urban presence of the geniuses who let this damn thing happen to begin with.
No, I don't think it's an urban presence. I'm talking about sheer numbers of manpower.
Oh, fair enough, but you can allocate the manpower.
The SWAT team of Butler, PA, is not the same as a SWAT team of New York City.
That may be, but there are.
Okay. But if that's pretty obvious. I mean, that's just
okay.
obvious.
But if you can at least cover the basic thing, you can have the best SWAT team in the world. If you leave the damn door open, what's that going to do you?
No. I'm not arguing about the semantics of this particular case. I'm just talking about a general case when you've got a candidate whose power base is in rural America versus a Democratic candidate whose power base is in Philadelphia. You might have a problem of coverage in terms of safety.
Work it out.
You know what I'm saying? Between a Democrat and Republican candidate. There's also the problem of the people in power are in charge of the people who are protecting you, which is another moral dilemma, Eric, as you and I have talked about. You know, if Mayorkas, who you just tried to impeach, is in charge of your life and death situation, that's precarious, bro.
Well, you know, here we go. You've got the state police in Pennsylvania, for example. A lot of these people, there are state. You mentioned National Guard. That's a possible solution. And you know what? I'm going to mention how many freaking elections and how many rallies have been taking place in rural areas for Republicans for, say, the past 60 years. They figured it out. Just saying.
Yeah, that I don't know about figuring it out. But I'm saying you've got Mayorkas now. You've got the Trump detail that's been shorted intentionally by the head of the Secret Service. That led to her resignation. That was the reason she resigned, was because her press spokesperson undermined her and said, we indeed did turn down Trump's detail request for more manpower. She lied about that under oath. That led to her resignation. That was the thing that stabbed her in the back. So now the guy in charge of your life, Mayorkas, is the guy you tried to impeach, and he's in charge of the manpower of your actual detail. That's awkward. That could be awkward.
I don't like the dude there. That's a whole different subject. You know, having a guy who's an idiot there.
Robert F. Kennedy.
By the way, his incompetence and his being a bad person has the same effect in the city or the country, in my opinion. If the Secret Service is corrupt, if they're going to use benign neglect and let things happen, I don't necessarily see where the New York police, because it's a bigger city, is going to say, you know what, screw you, Secret Service, get out of my way. I'm going to put my sniper teams in there. That's not going to happen. They rule the scene. They're the feds. They have the power. So I get what you're saying. Yeah, there may be more people, but if you can't allocate the resources you have, then we've got an even bigger problem.
Well, let's go to the additional problem as RFK, when he was Attorney General of the United States. This is the father of RFK Jr., who recently received Secret Service protection from Mayorkas for the first time. He was paying through the nose to have DeBecker Associates, Gavin DeBecker Associates, cover him as a Secret Service unit. Now, apparently, Mayorkas has determined that he will allow, for the next 90 days, at least until the election, the Secret Service to now have even less manpower available for Trump and others by diverting even more manpower to another candidate, this being RFK Jr. Now, his father, famously, not in 1968, he didn't have Secret Service protection in 1968, either his father, but in 1963, I want to go back in time, RFK Jr., when he was Attorney General of the United States, put together legislation to take away the Secret Service protection of his brother, the President of the United States, because he did not trust them. He felt they were incompetent and didn't trust them. He wanted to have U.S. Marshals and the FBI protect his brother. He wrote legislation to this effect. It was killed by LBJ a few weeks later when his brother's head was eliminated in Dallas in 1963 on November 22nd. So this is a problem that goes pretty far back in U.S. history, Eric, and we're just catching up to it now because of what happened in Butler. But this problem, as we've seen with testimony by Ray Kelly and going back to the Ray testimony with the House committee the other day, this thing hasn't gone away.
Well, and what was the first thing I said when I said RFK is getting the Secret Service protection? I said, number one, does he really want it? I said, number two, you better keep Gavin DeBecker on because I don't trust them. So you still need a guy who, whatever you think about him, you might call him sketch or whatever. He is a very sharp dude and he does know security probably better than anybody on the planet.
Right. But you can't get
an auditor there.
Right. You can't get international coverage out of DeBecker. You can't get international plots with DeBecker. You can only get domestic intelligence. You can't get international intelligence. And I mention that only because of the rumor that this was Iranian in origin.
Right, which I think is bullshit. But no, I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't think it's Iranians. I think that's very, very convenient that they, you had the plot, but then you turned down extra protection. Or maybe we're just coming in from a back thing because we get to go look at Iran. I don't like Iran, but I don't believe that they're behind this at all. It just it doesn't make sense.
We don't really know, but I mean, there may be other plots that we don't know about.
Okay,
that are separate from this Iranian ninja. But let me just finish up with Ray, because he testified. They asked him how many times the kid was there, and he was pretty certain about that. He went a week before. He went the morning of the event, and then came back for the shooting. So 3 trips to the site well, according to Ray.
Right, probably more.
Right. Well, that we okay. That I don't know.
I'm just he plotted out a pretty good thing, you know. I don't think he had obviously had the multiple trips that we know about, but you know, he didn't wake up that morning and said, you know, this is a good day to go take a shot at somebody. There was a lot of planning that kid did, and he.
Oh well, I think the announcement was 3 weeks or so before the event. So. That's when I think it was alerted to him. He lived an hour and a half from the place. So
now, I don't know what traffic is, but I thought it was like 40 miles. So 40 miles in LA is an hour and a half to 2 hours, but 40 miles in a more rural area is 40 minutes. So I don't know. You know, it could be, unless you're saying round trip, but no, that's another question, because people are like, how can a kid drive an hour and a half and and I'm like, well, maybe.
Wait, is that a problem with the timeline or something? The travel time?
Well, people, I think they.
I mean, why is that relevant? Why is that relevant?
I think it's relevant in the sense of like questions that they say, like, who gave him a rangefinder? And I'm like, Amazon. They're about.
That's a separate. Hold on.
Or a drone, but no, these are all added up.
There's a separate issue. I'm talking about the travel time. What does that matter?
Well, it matters in the sense that the farther he had to travel, obviously, the more inconvenient it is. The closer he is, the more frequently he could go back and forth, and the easier it is for him to get there. That's all I'm saying. Because they're exaggerating it, like, there's no way that this kid is going to drive 90 miles each way. Somebody had to tell him to go there and do the recon and things like that. So that's all I'm saying.
Okay, all right. I get it. So let me just finish up with the Ray thing, because there's 2 things that were important to me, and I try to pull out some stuff for the audience, but the autopsy is this is relevant for JFK. The autopsy is being done by Pennsylvania's county coroner, the coroner of that area. The state, Eric, is doing the autopsy. Now, we used to have a guy there who just passed away that Eric interviewed from Pennsylvania. What's that?
Cyril Wecht, yeah.
Yeah, Cyril Wecht, in theory, would have been doing this autopsy. Oh, yeah. Again, another bizarre connection. And they did not take the body back to Washington in this case. Ray said that the state, and again, for whatever this means, he said the state is in charge of the autopsy, and it's not complete yet. Okay. I don't know how that could be, but my question is the toxicology report. That's all I am interested in. I'm interested in, the wounds to the head, the sniper thing, but I think that'll take care of itself. I am really interested to see if they release a full toxicology report, because I believe there's amphetamine-based substances in this kid's blood. And I will predict that right now. If it's a legitimate toxicology report, there may be other things in there, but I think there are drugs in his system.
What are his prescriptions too? I mean,
yeah, that I don't know. Right, that I don't know. But I believe that this kid was on methamphetamine.
How long do those take, though? Because it seems like
it always takes months. I know.
Okay.
It's insane. It drives me crazy how long toxicology reports take to come out. I never really understood that. The physical coroner thing is rather quick. That because that's a physical skeletor shots and blah, blah, blah. You could see cranial stuff and put that out. Toxicology takes months. So we may have to wait this out. So there's that. And then I just want to tell you about a guy named Tom McClintock, who's a Republican on the committee. He's a Republican out of the 5th district in California. He's a good guy, conservative guy. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, he's talking about threats to Ray, FBI Director Ray, general threats by people coming across the border, terrorists and stuff like that. He went off on this terrorist tangent coming through the border. And he said, out of the blue, he said, what will be your response when terrorists simultaneously attack multiple high schools on Friday Night Football with automatic weapons and bombs? And I wasn't paying attention.
Very specific.
Dude, it was so specific. I said, oh my God, there's a movie right there. Why is he giving these guys ideas? I was like, holy shit, man. And even Ray was stunned by this question. And Ray, basically put it off saying, we have a lot of threats we're following right now. But this guy, McClintock, painted an entire scenario of simultaneous high school attacks on Friday Night Lights type football events with automatic weapons and bombs. And I literally scared the shit out of me when I
wish he didn't do that because...
Dude, I was shocked. I was shocked.
Yeah, I wish he didn't do that because that could give other people ideas like an Antifa or something that may not be the exact same. But yeah, that's
Holy
very
crap,
troubling.
Eric. Sometimes I watch these hearings and stuff doesn't get reported like this that was in the middle of the hearing, separate from the shooting itself. He just went off on this tangent. I said, oh, maybe he wanted that shock effect, but he got it. He definitely got it.
Right. Gotta pull this one up. We need to get an education on the evidence on Trump's assassin. If you believe Ray, you're insane. We didn't say we believed him. We said something accurate. Right. Well, I got to read super chats.
Okay,
I get people who paid us lots of money. Jeff Schlusher is a new member. Thank you. And then Dick Dickerson's coming in hot. 20 memberships. Thank you very much, my friend. We do deeply, deeply appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, Pew Pew. Pew Pew's coming in hot. He gave 10 memberships again. And here's the interesting thing. Pew Pew is coming pretty strong because it's saying Pew Pew's been a member for 1 month. So in 1 month,
he's a new guy.
Been a member, and he's been giving away other memberships like crazy, which is amazing.
There used to be a show called The Millionaire, and the millionaire would knock on your door. And it wasn't him. It was a guy working for the millionaire. It was one of my favorite shows. I always thought it should be brought back. It was in black and white, mid 60s. And the millionaire, he had a guy working for him and knocking on the door and says, I have a check for you, a cashier's check for $1 million. There's only one requirement, that you never tell another living soul that we gave you this check for $1 million. And they say, okay. And then shit happens. They tell their husband or their wife, and the guy comes back and takes it away or whatever. But a fantastic show that should be brought back and reminds me of Dick Dickerson, a lot of these guys, in terms of giving out memberships to people.
I hope they are, but I could not help but think of a scary scenario with that.
Right.
If you show up and you all of a sudden have a bunch of cash around, Mark, people are going to try to...
Well, no, they gave you the check. It wasn't cash. They didn't bring cash.
It doesn't matter. The point is, if you all of a sudden have a lot of money, you're going to be under suspicion. Are you going to pay?
That's part of the problem of the show. That's what the show's about, Hunley.
I mean, Jesus, that's horrible.
Right. I know. It's a weird show.
All right. Daniel Friedrichs. Wow, so weak. They cried because their candidate lost.
Who's he talking about? Crying before his candidate lost. I don't know.
Maybe Biden. This is way
You're talking about maybe Chris Coons out of Delaware. Van Jones cried again. This guy can't stop weeping, Van Jones. He's the weeping commie. That's my new name for Van Jones, the weeping commie.
All right. Pew Pew gave 10 more memberships. So keeping up with the Dickerson on this one. Pablo Papano. Facts won't matter. Dems are a hive mind, and none of them question Kamala. Well, that's true-ish, but then I just showed, what was it, Tariq, who was it, mocking her. So there are those disaffected types, the Jimmy Dores, who's definitely not a Republican. And
what's he into, Dore?
Well, he's not a fan of
Biden or Kamala. What about Blumenthal?
I don't know what Blumenthal's having to say.
Okay.
Pamela Clifton for $1. Thank you. Dickerson's giving $5 just to get Hunley to say balls.
Can't you say balls? What
I did. I read it out loud. I said balls. So
balls. Okay.
Balls. Yeah. Big Fish, Little Boat. RFK just gave the speech of the century.
Of this entire century of 24
apparently
years?
so.
There's 75 years left in the century. So you're talking about a speech that's 24 years of the greatest speech of this century.
It's got to be, yeah, because it couldn't be better than his uncle, right? I mean, geez.
No, but he's talking about this century now.
I hope so.
Not a previous century.
Yeah.
But the century is only 24 years old. So there's a chance that in the next 76 years,
somebody can catch up. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be,
but it'll be tough,
want to be sure, because there was a rumor that he was dropping out, which of course I don't think is true. Right. So that's been debunked, which is fine. So the reality of it is this guy has 106 days of fantasy living with his tweets and his tweeting army, whatever it is. He's got 100 days left of fantasy. On November 6th, his fantasy, Marvin Miller, thank you. The fantasy comes to an end on November 6th. And then there's no more bullshit. Then there's no more who's going to be in my cabinet, who's going to be my vice president. It all ends on November 6th for RFK Jr., which is sad. It's almost like the Wizard of Oz. They pull back the curtain and there's just a little man there. I mean, he can have 90 days plus of his presidential fantasy, and then he's got to go back to Malibu, Eric, and go hiking. So, I mean, all of his tweeting, all of this BS, no matter what happens, is going to go away November 6th. Going to go away, and he's going to have his 8% of his vote or the 3%, whatever it is, scattered around the country. Not going to be involved in the final decision of the fight. He's just going to be a cat with whatever percentage of the vote. But whatever happens, he's not going to win the election. We know that. And then he's got to just stay home and disappear.
I have one question for you about that. How far is Malibu from Brea?
Well, if he can get in a car and go down Imperial Highway, he can get there. People have told me the best way to get there is Imperial Highway. But if he can get down to Brea on the 9th of August, you could be with us to help celebrate the resignation.
Is that a celebration, though? A commemoration?
A celebration doesn't have to be well, commemoration, right, is the better word, Eric?
Well, I don't know, because it's one of those, it's like, well, we're not celebrating he resigned. It really kind of was a bad thing, I think, overall. Right. So it's awkward. It's like Memorial Day. You don't celebrate Memorial Day.
But you do have barbecues.
You do. You do.
Right. Okay, you do drink beer. You do party like it's 1999. We're going to party like it's 1969. In this case, we're going to party as the 50th anniversary of the resignation of Richard Nixon in 1974, August 9th, and we're going to go into the 10th. On August 8th, he gives the speech saying, "I will resign effective tomorrow, the presidency of the United States," which he does, and then he gets on the helicopter and he goes to I don't know where he went. Where did he go?
Back to California. Well, no, a helicopter. I'm not sure where he would have gone.
He went somewhere.
Well, he'd probably go on the helicopter to a plane that would take him back to California, because I can't see him taking a helicopter all the way back to California. But
yes, you can, Eric. If you just listen to me for a minute, pray with me, Eric. Get down on your knees and pray with me that people will come to our meetup. I think it'll be very effective and a lot of fun for people who want to meet up with these two guys.
How do we do that, sir?
Two of the best guys that can actually run a meetup, as far as I could see.
Sir, how do they do that?
By simply going to unstructured.locals.com. We can get the money. We need the money from you. We can raise the money. This was not a third-rate burglary. There was more to this than meets the eye. And we're going to be talking with you individually when you come down to Brea, near my old home, near the library where I used to go. They named it the Nixon Library after me. I, Richard Milhouse Nixon, will be there to meet you. I will be there with Neil Gorsuch, a man that I never would have picked, never, to be a Supreme Court judge. Not me. I picked some other losers, and history will bear me out. But if you can listen to Hunley and Grobert on how to become a member of this meetup, which will have what the French call hors d'oeuvres. There will be drinks, there will be wine. It will be a dinner, a buffet with a London broil, from what I understand. So don't think we're going to sell you short, because we're not. We're not. I am not a crook by today's standards. Remember that.
Fair enough. Right. So, folks, I do hope you consider coming by. You can always find it at americasuntoldstories.com/events.
Right.
There's a link in the description. You can click it. It'll take you right there. Very important note. You really want to book it soon, though, because we arranged a pretty heavy discount for the hotel rooms, and that expires on the 31st. So if you order after July 31st, you're going to have to pay more for the hotel. We want you to get the hotel discount, but the discount stops July 31st. So really,
there are other hotels in the area, so don't kill yourself over this thing. But for this hotel,
fair enough.
Yeah, for this one, the discount ends on July 31st. So it would behoove you, and I like to say the word behoove, to book your space now before July 31st. Put it that way. As I said, it's going to be the Friday is a live show. That would be at the regular time, like right now, August 9th. And before that, there'll be hors d'oeuvres and stuff. And then afterwards is a dinner. And then on Friday night is a live Q&A. And I am bringing my Watergate and political record collection of many different offbeat comedy albums regarding Nixon and some LBJ and Watergate, some rare collection that I have. I'm bringing them with a record player. So this will be fun. And that would be from like 6 to 10 the next night, Saturday night. Separate ticket, separate event. Some people go to both, Eric, right?
A lot of people do. Yeah. We have people who have booked for both. We actually have some people who have been at every event we've ever done.
Yeah.
And some that have been to events, including the JFK conference in Dallas.
Right.
So there's some amazing people who have really been everywhere. I've got a bunch more super chats, but before we get into them, let's go ahead and do a couple stories. Let's do something unusual. How about a feel-good story, Mark?
Yeah, well, there's some good stories. Come on, Eric. This is great. This is fucking.
So tell me about it.
The grandfather he's driving his pickup truck, hauling some other crap in the back, apparently, the pickup truck through Georgia. The grandfather has a heart attack or something and blacks out. And the 10-year-old boy gets on his lap, gets on the phone, and is told by either his mother or his grandmother to get on the lap of the grandfather and drive this pickup truck. The grandfather's unconscious, and they're hauling stuff in the back of the truck, the pickup truck. So he drove, I think, 60 miles with his unconscious grandfather beneath him while he is on his lap driving a pickup truck. One of the great country stories of all time. I love these rural stories.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
But you see, these kids can make it happen.
Yeah.
And fly over country.
Yeah. Well, he will later become a SWAT team member in Butler County.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Now, while we're talking about people who were unconscious,
right on.
You sent me this about there's a bunch of Camela Harris donors who were not conscious of actually donating money.
Oh, yes. This is great. You got to thank James O'Keefe for this. This is brilliant. Just to set it up, like Eric said, these people their names are being used by Democratic Act Blue and other laundering money of donations. So just play a little sample of that. I think it'll make itself clearer.
FEC data shows that some senior citizens across the U.S. have been donating thousands of times per year. Some of these individuals' names and addresses are attached to over $200,000 in contributions. We went and knocked on a few of their doors to corroborate the data that we received from a group of citizen journalists called Election Watch in Maryland. This is James O'Keefe with OMG. I'm here in Annapolis, Maryland. It's an individual who has donated a total of $217,000 made through 12,000 different contributions in a 3-year period of time. Now, sometimes these contributions have been made in variations of his name and variations of his address. You see this chart here. This chart shows a breakdown of the committees that were earmarked to receive the donations made through Act Blue. Yeah. And this is all FEC and state data. We're wondering if these donors are victims of what appears to be a money laundering scheme, or these residents actually participated in the scheme, or making phone calls, or knocking on doors, These are things that you can do. We hope you do that. Follow me along and see what happens. This is something that you guys can do. Very easy to do. A lot of homes with bizarre amounts of data showing tens of thousands of contributions made through different contributors here. So a lot of questions, and we hope the Citizen Journalism Army at OMG can answer them. This is an easy thing to do. Knocking on doors, asking questions. Get yourself a little microphone, get yourself a camera. You can use an iPhone. What we're going to do as citizen reporters is go back to the car and call them, right? We're going to call them. A few numbers to call. Contributed 3,000 contributions.
This guy's great. What a set of balls.
Records indicate that you donated $32,000, 3,000 different contributions people made at this address in your name. Are you aware of that happening? You're not aware of that happening?
Talk to Donald Trump.
Talk to Donald Trump? Well, how would Donald Trump help me answer that question?
Hit him with a bat.
Hit Donald Trump with a bat?
Hit him with a head.
Okay.
How would that help me answer this question?
It would certainly keep you in the news.
To do with it.
Car on his fucking head. Now stop fucking with me.
Whoa. Whoa. Cindy No of Annapolis, Maryland.
That went well.
No, but okay. So we don't have to play the. I watched the whole thing.
Everybody needs to watch it. I give him his views. Yeah,
right. Because the other ones, the theme is they're all incredibly loyal Democrats, and they are not aware of their name being used in this money laundering scheme, nor do they care.
No, they seem okay with it.
They're all okay with, not that they're aware of it. They've chosen their victims, if that is the right word, as O'Keefe says, quite smartly, because even if these cats are made aware of it by O'Keefe, they're not going to bark to the police. I mean, but holy cow, he goes up to a couple of ladies, does the same thing. I mean, they are using these names to make illegal donations to all kinds of Democratic candidates. One woman says, I may have thrown $5 at them. I don't know. I sent $5, not $5 million.
Ruth, you're donating?
I donated to Biden because he protected me in 1969.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ruth.
I had no choice. Oh, by the way, I just want to say something about Ray is now doubting the people know this, that a bullet hit Trump in the ear. He says there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel. He said to some surprised faces on the committee the other day, Eric, and now he's calling for Trump to come in to be interviewed by the FBI about, about whether he was hit by a bullet or perjuring himself, claiming he was hit by a bullet. This seems like some FBI trap, Eric, and Trump, to his credit, blasted him to blow this story up, because what they were attempting to do was get Trump to lie to an FBI agent. That's where this was going. Holy crap, do they never give up?
Oh, and by the way, my witness who I interviewed shared a picture with me. The teleprompters were both intact because that was the room. Remember the teleprompter glass?
Yeah. But holy crap, what a thing to say in the middle of the hearing, that he didn't think he was hit by a bullet.
I'm not completely surprised. The dude's
very little surprises you, because you've seen a lot of stuff, which is cool. The audience might be surprised. I was surprised. I was surprised by Viva's guest yesterday, that guy he had on the show, Martinson.
I thought you were a fan
of Martinson.
Yeah,
I was a little bit surprised. I mean, the guy, and I know he's got his defenders out there, but he just reeks of military intelligence. The vernacular he was using throughout this interview with Viva was so intense and so military and so specific that he's either the smartest gun guy in the history of the world in terms of gun intelligence, or he works for the military, neither of which he claims to be true. He claims to be something else other than a military guy, but holy crap.
I think he said his job is a problem solver.
Well, he is trying to solve this problem. But this is not his documented area of expertise. This is, of course, Christopher Martenson, who has a PhD, who is now the acoustic expert for the aborted Trump assassination. This guy has made himself the #1 guy. His knowledge of guns is unbelievable. And I mean that this would have to be a guy who the military, in other words, the snipers that you've been interviewing, Eric, this guy has more knowledge of guns than even they do, if that's even possible. The guy who is the husband of, what's her name, your friend, used to be on Fox.
Alice, Lynn Westover, yeah.
Right, okay. This guy has more knowledge than that guy about gun machinery and gun technology and bullets. And I mean, Viva didn't know what the guy was talking about. And Viva said, look,
maybe I should have Seth Kenney interview him.
Yeah, because this guy, no, I'm not saying he was, I'm not saying he was wrong, but just the job that this guy has in real life doesn't match up. It would be like me talking about just aerospace technology in an interview. And people go, how does he know all this stuff about aerospace technology? He's a comedy writer. I mean, what is this? So I did a mini deep dive on the cat, right? And I said, let me see who this guy is, because it was freaking me out. And I'll tell you why it was freaking me out after I tell you who he is. The guy was analyzing the gunshots, and he says, this is what he says: a second shooter was on the second floor in that building that Butler police were in and shot from the window, stepping back from the window. This is his take on it. Stepping back from the window, thereby a muffled sound for the last 3 shots that came out of the second floor window. Keep in mind, there's a lot of people in that building. I just want you to know that. Okay. Mm-hmm. But that's his take on it. And what he said at the end of the interview is what terrified me. This is what he said. And people didn't listen to it. He said, I want all of people out there, and Viva's got a lot of followers, who were at the event to send me, not the FBI, their audio and video tapes from their cell phones. Send them directly to me, Christopher Martenson. Do not give them to any law enforcement officials. And he said it like 3 or 4 times. And I went, oh my God, that sounds really creepy. I'm going to send this to a regular citizen and not the law enforcement, whatever you want to make of that. Okay, so that was weird. And I said, who is this guy? Let me get into this, because it was freaking me out. Okay, so Martenson.
Ed has my question for you. He didn't happen to have a gray suit that day, did he?
He didn't. It was black.
No. Okay. There was a guy on the gray suit that he said, send a picture to this phone number.
Right. That guy's suit happened to be black, is what I'm saying. I'm just saying the color of the suit was black.
No, okay.
That's all I'm saying. It wasn't gray. It was black. But and that being said, he's got a PhD in biochemistry and neurotoxicology. I just want you to understand who this guy is. Pharmacology and in vitro techniques. Okay, neurotoxicity is a specialty. MBA from Cornell. He's involved as a member of the Post-Carbon Institute. Eric says to himself, what the fuck is the Post-Carbon Institute? I'm Eric Hunley, and I've never heard of the Post-Carbon Institute.
You would be correct.
All right. Post-Carbon Institute is some post-end-of-the-world, gas ain't going to be around organization that is based on peak oil and the end of oil as we know it. This is the Post-Carbon Institute. It's an environmental group for the end of oil. That's who this guy is. And he also is involved in the effect of neuronal growth cones on axonal fast transport. University, like I said, went to Cornell and lives in Massachusetts. And he is a guy running a company called Peak Prosperity, which is an investment company. Okay, fine. What Viva didn't realize is that he was interviewing the vice president of a company called Pfizer. Now, his entire life, he's been the vice president of Pfizer, the guys who made the vaccine. Viva left this out in the interview because he didn't know that. And this guy wasn't saying he was the vice president of Pfizer, but indeed he was the vice president of Pfizer. Why he's now in charge of the Trump assassination is beyond me. But I thought our followers might find it of interest that this cat was vice president of freaking Pfizer, and also this so-called post-carbon institute, which is like the World's Economic Forum of oil, just so you know who this guy is. And he goes on this show and other shows, he's been everywhere, talking about the acoustics and the guns and everything else, as if he was an expert in this area. I find this to be a little unsettling, Eric. He's also linked to a guy in the Post-Carbon Institute named Richard Heinberg, who is his co-member of the group. And Heinberg, another chemistry cat, rejected his parents' fundamentalist beliefs. At one point, he lived in Colorado's Sunrise Ranch headquarters of the Emissaries of Divine Light, which you don't know about, which was a sort of benign cult back in the day. This guy is also part of this Post-Carbon Institute of these scientific crackpots who want to set up a post-oil world. This is who the guy is, and nobody has mentioned this, and he keeps asking for everybody's audio and video of the assassination, which he will end up with. And I've said repeatedly in the past couple of days, for anybody who analyzes the audio, what is the provenance of the audio you're getting? Where is it from? And nobody seems to want to answer that question. Somebody from the rally sent me their audio. I'm going to play it right now for our listeners. This is the audio sent to me from the event just recently. If you pay attention, you'll hear this. Okay, there's the 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the final shot is right there. Now that audio, which people have just heard, was sent to me. Now the provenance of it, according to them, is from the Trump rally in Butler, and I am playing that to you from the AR-15 shots. So people can hear that. And we don't know where that came from. I took that off of YouTube myself, and that's just some random guy shooting. I'm just fucking with you. But the reality, but I'm just fucking with people to show you what you could do with audio if you want to just play around with it and do something. But we're supposed to believe the vice president of Pfizer, that he knows everything about audio and guns and the assassination. So I just wanted to tell our audience what we're dealing with now.
I totally agree. Of
course, you're not surprised. You're not surprised that he was vice president of Pfizer.
No, that one. I knew he had nothing to do with anything, which is so weird because he was not like this audio engineer, right, formerly of the FBI coming out and talking. It was some dude. Yeah, and I didn't realize Pfizer. That's even deeper. But I always thought it was weird. And he was going back and forth with another person who I'm going, who are you? Somebody who's saying, I am blank. It's like when you make a declaration like you're a mighty deal.
These are the deep state operatives that I've been talking about and getting pushback about. We, as JFK researchers, were surrounded by them. And this includes a detective in Australia who came up with the book Mortal Era, saying George Hickey with an AR-15 blew Kennedy's thing off, and from the Secret Service car, that Greer, the driver of the Secret Service car, turned around and shot Kennedy, that the storm drain had a guy in there killing Kennedy. These are all laughable to us now. But when they came out, they distracted and sent a lot of hardworking researchers down stupid rabbit holes for years to disprove these things. And that includes the 3 tramps. And this is done intentionally. I know you love these stories, but keep in mind, this is done intentionally by the deep state to knock us off our research levels and send us down these rabbit holes. That's why I'm so aggressive about this now, because I've had that problem. And I know many researchers in the JFK situation have simply had to stop what they're doing to disprove the crazy crap. And I'm trying to point out to people that not everything coming out now is worthy of your time when we have so much meat, as Eric has pointed out, on the bone already. Right, Eric?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a couple of years to get through what's there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just trying to make people hip. to the fact I'm not going to be around in 30 years when people are still looking into this thing, or hopefully not, or, it could be resolved in a year or 2 years or 3 years. We don't know. It's going to take FOIA requests. It's going to take some aggressive investigative reporters to dig into what the F happened in this particular case. They're obviously not giving it up. I mean, Ray's testimony indicated that.
And it's weird, too, because this is almost the opposite of Kennedy. With Kennedy, you had a Zapruder film and a few other films. Here you have you have either too little information. Here you almost have too much. So some of it has to be like, collect it all, check all consistencies.
Well, he says you should send it to him. This guy says, please send me the information.
Oh, I already did, right? Yeah, it's already gone. But yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to get to that before you got to the super chats, because I think it's very important. I was watching this thing and I was texting Viva. He didn't respond in real time, and he was getting sucked down into this useful idiot rabbit hole. And I love him, but he was in way over his head with this cat. And now this guy has now reached 500,000 Viva followers with his situation yesterday, or as many followers as Viva has, by being allowed to interview this guy to his audience, which is what he wants. We've seen a lot of that when the Secret Service agent, the older guy, came out with the book, and he had the handler last year. Eric said he found the magic bullet on the back of the limo, and we had to bring in Vince to disprove it. And we had to stop what we were doing to discredit this dude. And this is done repeatedly by the deep state folks. And I know you're going to say, Chris Martenson, he's not deep state. It doesn't matter. That's the role he's playing. That's what he just did. But
the reason why we have to do it is it works.
Yeah, it does work. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we got a whole lot to go through here. 556 Pew Pew gave 10 more AUS memberships. Dick Dickerson came back and gave 20 memberships. These membership wars are amazing. By the way, I did put up some emojis now, so you guys.
Oh, I saw that. What is that?
What is that? Different things. I think I did you can't make this up. I think there's other emojis, things like that. So people who are members, they can, in the chat, express different things. I'll try to put more up. Basil Beshkup, are we assuming the deep state will not do a Butler?
No, of course
sure.
Not. Of course.
But I probably
could be
won't do it
anywhere.
in Butler. They'll do it somewhere else.
Right. I mean, they could. I mean, Butler might be too high profile, but then wherever it could.
Well,
be anywhere.
if they were to do it there, I mean, that would be really, really wild. But hey, what?
Who knows?
Joey Z came in and gave 10 memberships. So you guys are really generous.
Joey Z follows me on Twitter. I like this. Zyweiss, I think his name was his full Z name.
Cool. Jenny's getting inky with it. An hour late. Surprised no one has used the term Kamala Dolezal. Any change in a race. That's not bad.
Funny. That's a good one. That's a good one. Never thought of that.
Soul Doggy. Anyone who remembers Nate the Skate Archibald, then mentions him like Mark did this past Tuesday, gets $5 from an old loyal Cincy Royals fan.
That was for you, my friend. That was for you, Nate the Skate Archibald. Yeah, thank you. That was great. I love Nate the Skate.
All right, Darren Cox. Give a super chat or donation if you can. The YouTube monetized system must be hard for Eric and Mark to navigate with the topics discussed. Thank you. Yes, as a matter of fact, I just forwarded 2 videos that are demonetized that are 3 years old now. They're just like, oh, you know what? These are demonetized and they're not going to be done.
It's a war. It's a war of attrition.
Yeah, and it's very, very challenging. Mayor of Baseville's a new member. Thank you. Carlos Villar Gonzalez. I think this is a new one here, gifting some memberships.
It's funny because Villar was the name of the mayor, Antonio Villar, and his father.
Villar-Agrosa or something, right?
Well, he added the Villar-Agrosa later to get away from Villar, which is what Carlos is attempting to do with Gonzalez. But we're on to him because of Antonio Villar-Agrosa.
Yeah.
Thank you.
but Carlos is obviously honest.
Well, I don't know. Maybe his brother, for all I know, stepbrother.
No, he's good people.
He
Carlos
just threw his hat
best.
into the ring, Villar, for governor of California, is why I mentioned him.
Yeah, he did.
That was a great interview with Hochman, and we got a lot of information out of Hochman, didn't we?
Yeah, and he was pretty forthcoming. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed about the Wait, you're going to let people steal up to $900 twice before you say, you know what?
It's
okay,
not him.
We're done with you now.
He's actually describing he's not writing that. That's the
I
ballot
know,
initiative. That's the initiative.
I know. I'm still mocking your state, and it's your fault.
Dude, it is my fault.
White Strat 64. What's up with the 10 witnesses who saw the water tower sniper, if true, get shot dead? What?
Oh, then we'll revisit it. But when you have 10 out of
where's the body? White
when
Strat?
you have 10 out of 17,000 people,
where's the body?
No. I mean, just think about it. If you have 10 people out of 17,000 looking in the same direction, I have to discount the 10 people. I'm sorry. Call me crazy.
But I'm just facing questions.
Everybody's looking. There's a water tower. These 10 people see something. 16,992 don't see it.
I'm gonna say, well, we'll wait for the evidence and the body to show up. So thank you very much.
That doesn't happen, but who knows? It could with these people.
Yeah.
Watch somebody dies of a heart attack, and they're going to say there's an extraordinary situation going on, which may be. They'd have to kill them all, everybody from the rally.
It could be. Carlos came back concerned about the Blackstone connection. Yeah, Blackstone owning the building is very interesting. The commercial, very interesting. Definitely are dots.
I think it's BlackRock. Is it BlackRock or Blackstone?
BlackRock.
Okay.
I think it's BlackRock. Now you've got.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it was BlackRock.
Yeah. We have a lot. By the way, there's a lot of people who mix them up. BlackRock and Blackwater are two different things. Eric Prince and Blackwater is a defense contractor. BlackRock is an investment firm.
Right.
I just
maybe that's the connection between.
But they're not connected. I looked it up.
No, maybe that's the connection between Martinson and BlackRock.
Could be. I mean, well, I think BlackRock's very heavily invested in Pfizer.
I know. I'm saying maybe that's the connection.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thurston Howe the third question mark. Was Babe Rebozo an interesting character in the Milhouse saga? I am not a criminal.
Yes, first of all, it's Bibi Rebozo. He was a Cuban homosexual, and I just listened to a conversation, interestingly enough, between Nixon and Johnson yesterday, a phone call, where Johnson had a heart attack, and Nixon's calling him about going to a Truman, President Truman funeral, and is he going to go a second time? It was about two events related to Truman's funeral, and they're having a conversation. And all of a sudden, Nixon starts saying, Bibi's been sick. He's a gay blade, as you know, Lyndon. And he calls him a gay blade in the phone conversation. And he's making fun. Yeah, he's making fun of his own friend. And he was gay. And Nixon had some sort of a strange relationship with Bibi Rebozo, which we'll get into when we do the Bibi Rebozo episode. So thank you for that. You're absolutely correct. He's a fascinating character who laundered money from the mob and gave a lot of money to Nixon and was always with Nixon. Key Biscayne, Cuban with a lot of fingers and a lot of pies and maybe some bodies.
All right, Conrad says, how do intelligence agents and, more importantly, operatives get paid? What do their payroll checks say? CIA, fake corps?
It's usually a fake corporation. It's usually a fake corporation, a cutout that they created to, at least in the Hunt case and other cases that I've looked at in depth from the 70s, the 60s, the 80s. It's usually a cutout corporation that they ostensibly are linked to, and then they have a phony payroll that goes through there.
Or they just are paid by the Department of Treasury. I believe I got checks from the Department of the Treasury when I was a soldier. No, I'm just saying, Department of Treasury, they're a government employee. I mean, if they are active CIA agents, they don't just say, I don't believe it has a return check to CIA. I think it just is Department of the Treasury, and they just get a paycheck. You're
talking about people who work in the office of CIA, is what you're saying? The office people?
Yeah.
I'm talking about like
officers even.
I'm talking about undercover operatives in the CIA and DIA and O&I who are operatives. They have cutouts, but the people are there every day. At Langley, yeah, I'm sure it's a regular government job.
I'm saying there's a lot of them who are supposedly an attaché at an embassy, and and they happen to be CIA, but they're an attaché. You don't know, there's just a GS-10 or GS-11, 12, whatever it is, paid by the Department of Treasury, and they're just a government employee. And a lot of them will just say, "Oh, I work for this department or that department or whatever," and they might happen to be CIA, and you don't know. So there are cutouts and fake budgets. That's for, I think, a lot of, if you will, spies and things.
The Robert Mullen Corporation, just to be specific, which Hunt worked for and was a PR firm in Washington. Robert Mullen was the company that, when Hunt resigned or retired from the CIA the second time, and he went to work for Mullen as a PR guy, he received checks from Mullen as an employee of Mullen. Now, Mullen was a phony company that was a CIA company. So his checks came from, and I'm just looking at this recent situation with Hunt. So depending on what you're doing, I mean, your check can come from a different place, I guess.
Okay. I'm just saying, there's a lot of options. Great Ghost, how difficult would it be for the Dems to simply cheat again to win the election? Depends on the margin.
How difficult it will be? I mean, it's difficult. I mean, those are broad questions. How difficult will it be to cheat again? I mean, they're cheating all the time. I mean, it's just a question.
First, we're on YouTube. We're on YouTube, so remember that was the most secure, best election ever held in history. Number one, there's never been a better one with the most popular president ever in history. More votes than our.
Well, I'll tell you something. He received in the primary. I'm not talking about the election. The primary. Biden received 41 million actual human votes in the primary just this past year. She received 0, and she's the nominee of the Democratic Party. Think about the legality of that. And Trump is filing a complaint with the FEC about the transfer of $90 million to her election. We'll see where that goes with the FEC. Of course, they control the FEC, so I don't think that's going to amount to much. But the fact that he personally got 41 million votes that are now negated, you're assuming that those people, 41 million of them, would vote for her or Robert F. Kennedy or Jill Stein or Cornel West. That's all been eliminated by the Democratic National Committee. They've decided that a woman who got 0 votes is now the nominee of that party. It's a little strange. I think democracy dies in darkness.
Yeah, ask Bernie. It's a long tradition.
Yeah, it's a long tradition. Wow.
Kirk Burkhalter said AOC for VP. Wouldn't that be
a double-barrel feminine ticket? I don't know.
Is she old enough yet?
I don't think so. Not old enough.
No, you've got to be constitutionally eligible.
I'm not old enough to do that. I'm not old enough to do the vote that Eric wants me to do because I'm from Queens, New York, and I don't want to vote that way, Eric. I want to stay here and be a congresswoman who gets your makeup for free from, makeup companies, Eric.
Paul Martin, Andrews Air Force Base, Nixon copter. Trump shooter contributed to Act Blue the day Biden was inaugurated.
We don't know that that's him. It's completely sketchy if that's him at all. Even the owner of Gab said, I don't know if that's him. So please don't say that. I read that whole thing. Nowhere in there is it indicative that it was this kid. No, even the guy from Gab said, please don't think it's even he doesn't know.
Oh, the Torba said, it is. I guess the intelligence agency said, we think he was on Gab.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Bernie guy. Remember the one who shot the softball field? Was he Gab or was it the synagogue? But one of them was blamed for Gab, even though the individual was also on Twitter.
Right,
so,
right.
Gab does take some heat because if it's anybody who's, not great. Also, by the way, it doesn't make sense because Gab doesn't really have a leftward presence. They tend to be more the alt-right.
What they released was him arguing with people on Gab who were right-wing people.
Right, which still, though, he's going to be nowhere else in the world, but he's going to say, you know what? I'm going to go to a haven of alt-right people and argue with them because I love Biden. I don't know.
It didn't add up. It didn't add up. So far we have nothing except the kid on Steam, the statement that he did make on the gaming site. That's been proven to be him.
Has it? Because the FBI said it was and wasn't. That went both ways too.
Oh, okay. Then I take that back.
Yeah, I'm very confused on it. Now I've heard that people are looking for Discord, so maybe it was on there. I don't know. Jay said Martinson was also huge in the fear train in early 2020, although he later shifted gears.
Yeah, a lot of gear shifting by this cat. Yeah, thanks, Jay. Thank you. Yeah, I
All
don't
right.
have time to deal with this guy, but I just thought I'd dig in a little bit.
Conrad for $1.99 said he gifted 99 America's Untold Stories memberships.
Wow, that's insane, bro.
I don't know how that quite works out. That's some kind of crazy black market. I don't think that the market value is at $2 for 100 memberships.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Wow.
Another useless acronym said, "Great show, gentlemen. They've been a member for 9 months. Thank you."
Wow, I'm pregnant.
Pete's Guide. AP FBI says Trump was indeed struck by a bullet. Well, thank you.
That's not what Ray said, so I don't know what FBI is he talking about. Ray himself, or?
Well, Ray doesn't even know if there was a scope. So I kind of wonder. It's like, are you just throwing some bullshit out there, Ray?
It's hard to tell with the guy. The guy's so oily, Eric. It's really difficult to tell he's good. He's very good.
Well, who put him into office?
He said in the hearings that Trump put him into office because he was being attacked by Democrats, and he said, "Look, Trump put me in there," and they wanted him to go after Trump, and he defended Trump briefly in this diatribe that he was having a back and forth with this older black Democrat who was there.
Not the one who passed, right? Not Sheila Jackson.
No, she wasn't there.
She was already dead.
But they had flowers there. She could have voted. They just had flowers there where she used to be. I mean, think about Dianne Feinstein and her. They will go to the last minute of their lives to stay in power, just like Joe Biden. They will stay until they take them out on a gurney, literally. Sheila Lee Jackson's last breaths were on Twitter denouncing Trump.
Yeah, didn't she say something like, if this speech is any longer, I'll die before it's done?
I don't think I remember reading it. I don't remember that, but
it was something on this speech.
Yeah, it was just some Trump derangement tweet. And then apparently she died right afterwards.
All right, Alex Stevie Duke, BlackRock, much larger, but Blackstone is also an investment company.
Oh, okay. All right. I never heard of Blackstone.
I know there is a Blackstone. I have heard of that, and there is some confusion on that. And there's also Harry Blackstone, the magician. But
right. Weird name, similar names, confusing as fuck.
I think that might be deliberate. Fletcher Boy, Mark, that's protecting democracy.
He's right. Fletcher,
those pesky voters.
Yeah. I mean, they vote for you. If you can't make up your mind, we'll vote for you. They have designated hitter. They have a designated voter.
All right. Well, and Alex Davy Duke is coming in here. Great show. Dr. Martinson was a VP of finance at Pfizer. More suspicious, he was at SAIC, large private government IT contractor. Yes, always be skeptical.
Finally, yeah. People were, pushing back on me for I really just simply raising the question of who this sketchy guy was. I mean, give me a break.
Oh, good point here. Big Bill 767. Funny show today. The Millionaire. 207 episodes at $1 million per episode. That's some big bucks for the late 1950s.
Yeah. They didn't actually give them the money. It wasn't a game show. It was a drama. Some big money. It was a show. It wasn't a game show, bro.
I don't know. I've never heard of it.
No, it was a dramatic show about they were with actors who, and then the problems that come into someone's life when you give them $1 million. That's really what the show is about.
Okay.
And it was a great show, and I always thought it should have been rebooted. But that's just me.
Oh, fair enough. Well, we are going to head over and follow the great Oswald.
Well, if you could answer
actual
this
Patsy-
question, did J.D. Vance have sex with a couch? I think that's the question everybody wants answered, which we will answer on Locals.
And we're going to head there right now.
Okay, let's go over there.